We return finally after our great week away. It was a fantastic time when we went racing at the 24 Hours of Spa, but finally we have returned. 3 great races to open up the season, and we are back for 3 weekends more. The Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge here at Monza. What a fantastic venue it is. Plenty of racing we will see from start to finish. It is one of those great racetracks built back in the 50s as a classic racing venue for Formula One and the like. It has been used over countless championships over its run. Taking you through the action today, Hugo Luis will be on broadcast duties. Lewis McGlade, Somal Aurora in the commentary booth, and boy, are we ready for some more racing action.
Indeed we are, Lewis, and this one just literally upsets the apple cart. Monza is unlike anything that we've seen so far in the championship. All the tracks so far has been very tight, very technical, but all of a sudden here you come to Monza and there's long straights everywhere and it's full of chicanes. Maybe, just maybe, the BMWs could be the ones having the edge here. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, the form book's potentially going to be thrown out the window. We really don't know what we're going to see. We didn't have too many cars when we last raced at Zolder, but let's be real here. That did not impact the drama at all. It was fantastic racing from start to finish. Imagine having 3 wide on any track of the season and then thinking we could do that at Zolder. I'm not so sure, but we did multiple times.
Multiple times. We actually went 4 wide at turn number 1 at the start of the first race as well, of all things. And the best part was the titanic battle between core sim racing and sim RC. My heart was literally spiking up. The heartbeat was all of a sudden shooting all the way up in that race. And even watching it back yesterday, Lewis, I was just as amazed as watching it at the first time. That was a perfect example of what you can do when the championship has some context. And now, all of a sudden, RaceFox, who were the dominant leaders, are down to P number 4, can you believe it, after just 1 bad round.
Yeah, they did not have a good round last time at Zolder. It really didn't work well with them. But as you can see, we return here for another triple header. We started the season with Hockenheim, Barcelona and Zolder all in back-to-back weeks. Then we took our little break. I mean, it's actually been a month. But we had our 24 hours of Spa here at Sports Car Open, which was fantastic, by the way. And then we return. We'll do 3 weeks back-to-back racing here at Monza, going over to the Red Bull Ring in Austria before we end the season on the shortest track of the season, the Nürburgring Sprint Strecke. And this is the thing with the season so far, Somal, isn't it? That we've been to a wide variety of completely different circuits, and that's set to continue for the second half of the season.
100%, Lewis. And the next couple of rounds, this one right here in Monza and then later at the Red Bull Ring, they really are going to be a bit insane. All of a sudden, right, you see the mix changing away and going away from the Porsches that have been very good at circuits where you need that technical ability. Now, the next couple of rounds, circuits that are dominated by long straights. And one wonders, can this be the chance for the McLarens to finally get their act together? Because in the long run, we've seen their pace deteriorate. In qualifying, the McLarens have been superb. In the race, though, something has been missing. Can they possibly use their great acceleration to get things working right here at Monza and then maybe later at the brand new Red Bull Ring on iRacing?
Yeah, it's the thing with these 2 circuits is that we head to 2, particularly these 2, they're the lowest tyre wear circuits realistically on the calendar, which is a big factor when it comes to those McLarens that you're speaking of, because they've been plenty fast enough. But it's all been about the tyre wear, the conservation, which the Porsches have just effectively dominated on.
Yeah, exactly. The Porsches have been super good with that one. And in qualifying, right, we've seen so many McLarens take pole position. I distinctly remember Fiercely Forward IRS doing it. I remember German simracing doing it twice, yeah. It's just not working in the race for them. But many feel that this could be their one big chance. And, well, McLaren's aside as well, Lewis. Volanti Racing in the BMW, they actually took out a podium at Barcelona. Here, I think they could go for the win, because if they can pull out a podium at Barcelona with a BMW, this should be right in their ballpark.
And what a fantastic drive it was. But I mean, the Barcelona races, to be fair, I've said this time and time again when it comes to our racing, and I will say it multiple times through the broadcast, so prepare your ears. But good racing doesn't need 30 cars. It doesn't need a whole host. All it needs is a few cars with a bit of respect, and we get some great racing. The championship is actually incredibly close. Yes, there's only 5 points between the two Core Sim racing, so you may be thinking, looking at them for the championship hopes and whatnot. Of course, Core winning so many races so far this season, but SimRC are only 7 points behind that, and RaceFox, after we won't beat around the bush, it was a terrible round for them respectively in comparison to the first 4 races of the season, but they're still in championship contention. They aren't that far off. They're only 25 behind Core Sim Racing leading the championship. It's not even that many. I've miscounted. Never trust the commentators' maths. It's only 15.
No, exactly. For Team RaceFox, the consistency has been their main strong point until we came to Zolder. If they can keep that on as well, Lewis, I think they'll be fine, because it all just takes one bad round, as shown to us by RaceFox themselves. So it doesn't take much, to be honest. And I'm knocking on wood as I say that, but just one bad round for SimRC or one bad round for Core Sim Racing, there they are back in the whole championship mix all of a sudden. So don't count anyone out at this stage. But Core Sim Racing, my word, have they grabbed all their opportunities with both hands.
But for Core, it's been more a tale of consistency and of patience, where you compare Core, and of course, it is important to note that Core Sim Racing and SimRC both have 2 cars out there. And between those, all 4 cars, they've all been competitive. They've all taken race wins in the first 6 races. But it is SimRC that have the most race wins. They have 4 in total. Now, penalties have come into this as well a little bit. But it is important to know that they are coming into this not with a championship lead, but maybe with that edge where they've got the most race wins, where they've got that belief in themselves, where they know that they can translate. But Monza's a completely different ballgame when it comes to translating.
100%, Lewis. With SimRC, I think it's going to be a bit tricky this time out with the Porsches. But hey, we shall wait and watch what happens after qualifying. But a word on the 76, a word on all the race wins that they've got. They've been phenomenal. They, last time out with Jürgen Frank, had a brilliant final stint that literally got all of us right on the very edge. Yeah. As I mentioned early on, that got our heartbeat pumping, but they're still only P5 in the championship. They're still only some 7 odd points ahead of Facely Forward IRS and have half the points of the 34 Core Sim racing car. And why is that, you ask, folks? That's quite simple. They've got 2 disqualifications under their belt, and simply for technical issues here and there. I think once it was escaping back and going back to the pit lane, because in qualifying, I guess, which you're not allowed to do, they took the toe back and you're not supposed to do that, so they got disqualified from there as well. So these small things have hampered SimRC, the number 76 one particularly in the first half of the season. Had they not been there, they would have easily been around P1 or P2.
Yeah, it was the 76 had both races disqualified and thrown out at the opening round of the season at the Hockenheim Ring, and the 77 had the second race thrown out at Hockenheim Ring. It's one of those things. It's to clarify as to why that is. It is down to escaping in qualifying. It's a breach of infringement when it comes to the ruling. It sounds basic, it sounds silly and sounds stupid, but it's one of those things that we don't necessarily have to do in many leagues. One of those things that I actually really like about qualifying session is being able to properly strategize. You can't just go, do you know what, I'm going to escape the pit lane, I'm going to throw a fresh set of tyres on it, and then I'm going to attack it again. No. You have to manage your time. It's a 20-minute session, but that 20 minutes goes by very, very quickly. You've got to make sure you've got enough fuel in the tank to bring it back to pit lane. You've got to make sure that you've got enough time to do so and get back out again. It's a massive balancing act, and especially around here, you want to come out and slipstream.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes you a couple of laps to properly get into the rhythm of it, right? So things are a bit tricky in that aspect as well. But even for the 76 right now, they've got a slightly new lineup. Marvin Stroll, as you can see right now, he's their reserve driver, but he's been pulled up into the team. Now, we shall get to see for whom, either of Jürgen Frank or Felix Luding, but that's going to be interesting to see how the team lineup fares in with Marvin coming in, because so far, both Jürgen Frank and Felix Luding have been on the top of their game, but it's just these minor things. And remember the penalty they got for diving down the inside of Facely Forward at Catalonia, wasn't it? Turn number 9. Even that has hampered them down. So this genuinely presents a brand new opportunity for them. And on the paper, Lewis, it might look like SimRC in the number 76 is coming in with some great momentum because they won their last round. But it's been 4 weeks since we had the last race. Is momentum really on their side now?
It's kind of one of those things that's a bit hard to tell. I will say with the 76, Marvin Strel is replacing Felix Luding because Jürgen Frank is also ready, which obviously with the way it works, and yes, time and time again we've been over it, but whilst we're back, it's a good time to refresh it, isn't it, when it comes to our qualifying system and how the races work. So Marvin Strel is doing this first qualifying session, is presently sat in the slipstream of Kevin Crosney, who's been so impressive at various points of the season. These drivers will not start race 1. They do the qualifying and then they will start race 2. First times coming in then, and German sim racing .de by ACV on pole position, looking for another one. You're saying those McLarens might be looking strong, and well, could be looking very good indeed.
Yeah, they're working really well in the pack, and watching them as well. Really right at the back of the pack, and they're getting a very good draft from everyone else. What can Marius Golombek do? He's been Co's star performer so far this year, especially in qualifying. Golombek has been superb. And it's interesting, right? Co are working on their own, just the teammates. They're not going out there like all the others and working in that one big pack. I guess this is the advantage of having 2 really competent cars. You don't need to rely on anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a hit because you kind of want the first car. If you're going to go out as a team, you want the first car to be pulled along just a little bit, because then it allows you to carry the advantage. If you're riding on board with Pascal Stix, you'll see exactly what I mean. He's got into the slipstream here of Marius Golombek and is being pulled along, of course, at the moment. But you'd ideally want a car, you know, relatively similar speed, just ahead of Marius Golombek, pulling them along. Although, again, I've said this time and time again. We've said this back, I think, even at Hockenheim Ring when we watched qualifying there.
Yeah.
Is that create your own destiny. Don't go chasing slipstream when basically what will happen is if you constantly chase the slipstream, you're going to lose out because you'll be sat there, you'll be trying to find it. They've crashed, they've been off the road. Okay, where's the next bit of slipstream? Where's the next? Just go and set a good lap time. Just go and set a decent lap time. Try and get yourself inside the top 5. And just, like I say, take control of your own race.
It's a bit fun to say that way, but in qualifying we often get to see how desperate all the drivers are. Well,
yeah.
If not here as well, even the Formula 1 drivers, as we see the co-cars swap around, even they are mighty desperate for it. I mean, we saw what happened at Monza back in 2019, what many called an absolute farce in qualifying, where everyone just wanted to stay back. Nobody had the initiative to go forward and be the one creating the door for everyone else. It's that important here at Monza. You just can't let go of the draft, and essentially it becomes very much like the closest we can get to an oval on a road course in a way.
Especially in this, particularly because I'm not going to say that track position is not important, because we know it is. But of all of the circuits on the calendar, track position is less important here. And there we go, with a decent bit of slipstream, a decent bit of working between the 2 teammates, and Pascal Stix gets up into 2nd position. Golombek got out of the way on the run into Ascari, and now Golombek has fed the slipstream from Pascal Stix's core car. And like you say, didn't need a big train, didn't need to get involved in it, just went out, did it themselves, and got on with it. And we've seen this time and time again in Moto 3 and whatnot, where sometimes there'll be a rider who just work with another rider or just get out by themselves and will set a time that's good enough for the top 5. You don't necessarily need pole position here. You just need to be roughly in the mix and out of the danger zone.
But to be fair, every place is a danger zone here at Monza. It's Monza turn number 1 after all. And Monza turn number 1 is no longer just a corner, right? It's an emotion. It's like an event. It's a certain bond that guarantees the loss of precious carbon fiber. It guarantees the loss of a couple of drivers from the race, maybe cutting off a few broad patches of grass. And what's the next thing that gets lost over there? Oh, I know, sanity.
Absolutely. By the way, you might see that the grey, pink and cyan, I'm going to say, a magenta and cyan, probably that, in the background, that BMW, that's the Kairos competition Apollo car. Not really seen, I think we might have saw them at the first round of the season. We certainly haven't seen them for a little while, but
no,
nice
we
to see
haven't.
another BMW.
It's the first entry, yeah.
It is their first time in it, yeah. I wasn't sure, but I kind of had a vibe that I'd seen the name before, but no, first time in the series. And I will say, part of me quite likes the livery. I like the colours. It's striking, it's eye-catching.
Oh yeah, Kairos have been pretty good in terms of deliveries. I think I saw them in Ivor competition as well early on last year, and they nailed it there as well. But yes, coming in for the first time this season, they've had some unfortunate schedule clashes, if I'm not wrong, and they finally have got the chance to come right here and compete. And it's pretty generous of all the teams around. I mean, they could have just said, no, you can't come in, but Kairos, they have been a part of this grid. They're finally here, and I'm keen. They couldn't have chosen a better round, Lewis, to come right here with the BMW, because this could possibly be BMW paradise on paper at least. But hell, we have to wait and watch. But a word on Sim Racing, right? A word on what they've got done with Pascal Sticks right there. With their drafting, with their teamwork, they've actually gone out there and become the leading Porsche. And they have beaten the SimRC car by just 1/10 of a second. It's that close up there.
Very, very close indeed to say. The BMWs, though, right at present, at the moment, the Kairos car is the highest placed BMW. They're ahead of the two Aztec SimSports Volante racing cars, blue leading red, and then the Maniti Racing white car, which, I mean, I'm not sure if it's a surprise in the sense that, BMW should go well around here. But let's give them a bit of a shout out in the number 80. They are doing better this round, at least on pace. They've always been around a second and a half, 2 seconds off. They're pretty much right there, and they're on pace with the other BMWs. That's the important thing there that I would take as a big win from them, is they're on pace with the other BMWs, which they've struggled to be on pace with the Aztec SimSports Volante cars.
Oh yeah, Volante have been mighty good. Volante have been punching well above the weight of the BMW. And as I mentioned earlier on, getting that podium at race number 1 in Barcelona. But coming back to Maniti, it's been a major learning curve for them. Now, normally when Maniti Racing go to any racing series, you expect them to be in the top 5, top 7 all the time. But they've gotten a slightly less experienced lineup in terms of GT4 racing, and they're getting grips to it. And the best part is, Lewis, there's always been improvement. Every single round, you see them getting slightly closer to the pack, maybe a 10th closer, maybe a couple of tenths closer than the last round, and there they are, finally keeping up with the BMWs. And honestly, it's a very nice thing to see. It's good that we have these minor storylines working around everywhere in the grid. Even though we might just have 13 cars, we're able to follow along with the stories of each and every one of them. And honestly, what more could you ask from a championship like this one?
Yeah, don't judge the 13 cars, because we had 13, 14 cars at Zolder, one of the hardest tracks to overtake at, and still we were left with absolutely brilliant racing. We've still got high quality outfits here. Of course, the only teams that have won races being Core and SimRC, and German SimRacing.de have threatened it. Can someone else get involved and say like it's the BMW's best chance to do so with the Volante and the Kairos car? There's plenty that can happen here. We're still rating for a first race win from Team RaceSpot, so
yeah,
you never know.
Believe it or not, by the way, it's a bit absurd that they were leading the championship by the last round and did not even have a single first place. I think they've got a couple of second places here and there, but it's a bit strange to see that. By the way, we're also waiting on the first lap from Marius Golombek, and the 35 core car still hasn't gone there and still hasn't put in a single representative lap. I think they just might this time out, no?
Yeah, it's because I think he was a little bit too close with Marius Golombek to Pascal Sticks on the previous venture around the track and just got caught out a little bit. Pascal Sticks messed up. Piratella? Oh, wrong track. The first chicane, yeah, there we go. And basically delayed him down into the De La Roger. See, this is the thing, as I've commentated on Imola too recently, I'm thinking, wait, no, Tozer? No. Retifilio being turn 1 and 2, messed that bit up, and then getting down into the De La Roger and just delayed Marius Golombek bit by bit. So this is realistically Golombek's best opportunity to get involved. But, I mean, if there's one track, this track bites when it comes to its track limits. Just, in the race, a 1X, for track excursions, that's nothing, right? You've got enough to use, you might as well burn them up, realistically speaking. It's, of course, once you've passed a certain amount, I think it's 20, then race control, post-race give you time penalty for doing it. So you do actually have quite a few to use. But in qualifying, 1X means your lap time's done. See
exactly.
ya.
Exactly, and even though Monza is slightly wider, even though if it's an FIA Grade 1 circuit, you can just often push the limit a bit too much and maybe just go slightly wide, especially at the Ascari chicane right here. There's a tendency to cut it off. And just look at how much Marius Golombek is pushing all the way through. You can just see how intense the lap times are all the way in, and I can only wonder what it's going to be like in the race, right? And a word on Course Racing again, a word on what they've been doing so far. It's barely been a break, Lewis. Ramstein and Sticks were racing for them in the Sports Car Open Spa 24 hours a couple of weeks ago, and they finished P number 19. And an interesting side note was the fact that not many teams competing in the Sprint Challenge actually went out there and competed in the SCO 24 hours of Spa. So many of them got, I think, an extra week of rest in a way, but Ramstein and Sticks did not.
No, I will say a good lap by Marius Golombek to get up into 4th position, so it does finally get a representative lap time on the board. But yeah, me and Arjuna were actually speaking about this in the opening stages of the Sports Car Open 24 hours of Spa just a couple of weeks ago, and having a bit of an interesting discussion on sim racing and on what was, at least for us in this championship, the off-season. Now, really think about it. When in sim racing, and this is a genuine point, when in sim racing as a whole, do you get an off season? Because
good point.
We don't really get one in sim racing. It's not a thing here where you'd think like motorsport takes its break, with the exception of a couple of series across what would be in the Northern Hemisphere the winter, you know, between basically December and potentially February. Things start to pick up again before really kicking off in March, and for some seasons series even a little bit later than that. So, you know, that's the off season of the motorsport world, and we all know it painfully well because we're all sat there waiting for the next race. You know, exactly. it's a tantalising time, and so you'd think that sim racing would really flourish then, and then maybe die off a little bit whilst all the other racing's going on. But you see racing on TV, you think, I want to be a part of that, I will be a part of that, I'm going to go and race online. So you don't actually get an off season because there's the constant racing. So, you know,
it's in a way what helps sim racing the most, but also can pull it down. Because if you're working in sim racing, right, sometimes you do need a break here and there. And at the max, maybe you can get a week off, maybe a couple here and there, because there's always a championship happening somewhere. Maybe you have a summer series, the summer series ends, and all of a sudden the major endurance racing leagues like Sports Car Open end up starting in autumn. And after autumn, all of a sudden, who knows, the autumn is over, then you have the winter leagues coming up everywhere. So there's never a period of respite, but in a way, that's what benefits sim racing the most, right? It's always on. You can always join in. You can always watch. And it doesn't have to be an alternate for motorsport anytime, right? It can also work in tandem, and that's what we're seeing in the major season so far.
It's like I say, it is constant, it's organised, it's very, very professional these days. And I've even got some stuff organised for January. I'm like, oh. Some people are very organised with when they're sorting stuff out, but that's the thing, is that like there is no option, it's just constant. For us on the broadcast teams, for the drivers as well, it's such a mental drain. And we think for the drivers, they're doing so much practice to get involved, to get up to speed. Where do you fit all that practice in when you're racing in multiple championships, or you're racing for your 24 and whatever? And even then, just doing your own casual bit, it is intensely hard. And I have so much respect for all these drivers that do race constantly. I don't think many people are just racing one series these days. Everyone's across the board. Also, by the way, Marius Golombek did 2 laps back to back there, improved on his second one to get up onto the front row of the grid in the number 35. So challenging the present pole time that's set by Christopher Hyman. And Hyman's just cruising at the moment, just sort of keeping out of trouble. You've got the 2 core cars there trying to keep to themselves, as they've been doing all the way throughout the session. And it is once again Pascal Sticks ahead of Marius Golombek.
Interesting stuff right there.
I thought we were going to switch over.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe let's wait and watch and see if they've got another lap in them coming here right now. But also, German Sim Racing coming up only with 1 car. GermanSimRacing.de by Hetzner machine is not here. And how surprising is it that they've got a German Sim Racing car up there in pole position? I think Wouldn't this be their third pole position so far of the season, Lewis? I think it would, right?
I believe not. Maybe they had the 1-2 in Barcelona 1. But I don't think they had another pole position. And McLaren obviously had pole position in the first round of the season, with Rebecca Pauline setting that fantastic lap time at the Hockenheim ring to grab pole position for Fiercely Forward IRS, who are not here present. But outside that, I think they've only had one pole, but it was the fact that it was a 1-2 on the grid.
Yeah, and even I think in Zolder, I think they've got the cars in the first couple of rows, but
yeah, they were right up there. Yeah,
they were right up there. Yeah, and what's really interesting with them is that all their cars, well, they've made contact with each other quite a fair bit, and they've only got one of them so far. So who knows what's going to happen this time out? Their issues has been largely about making contact and maintaining that pace. Their quali pace has been superb. And by the way, their main rivals that we've seen on the track, Fiercely Forward, they're also missing a couple of cars. Firstly, because the RRS machine, Rebecca Pauline, isn't quite feeling so well, so they've taken a bit of a rest, and I hope they get better. But as for the second machine, the Tricolor, Maxime Marriott's PC has faced some really bad technical issues, so even that car is out there. And I'm a bit sad because both these machines have been involved in some crazy battles so far this season.
Unfortunately, it's one of those, the things of sim racing is technical faults. I mean, you think of it this way: if you have an issue going into a round, it's not as if it's a quick, simple fix. Not many people have spare stuff lying around. That's why I've always encouraged a lot of the sim racing stuff, and I have seen this in full effect quite a bit recently. Is you upgrade wheel, you upgrade pedals. Don't throw the other one away. Obviously, why would you? Yeah. But I wouldn't even sell them. Keep hold of them, because you never know when something's going to pop, when something's going to break, when I don't know, even as simple as you might need a spare nut or bolt that might fit the bit that you're looking for. It's probably going to be on the other wheel. Have a look. Whatever it is, just there's no need to throw it away. By the way, they did switch, so Pascal Stix is in the slipstream of Marius Gollenbeck. Checkered flag is out. Final laps coming in. It's a McLaren of German Sim Racing, .de by ACV. Christopher Hyman on pole position at present. The two core Sim Racings will be one of the first to complete the session, and let's see what Pascal Stix can do. Currently sat in third position, a 57.518, needs to improve by just about a tenth to grab pole position. Slipstream all the way to the line, and it is pole position for Pascal Stix. Fantastic stuff from Marius Gollenbeck and Pascal Stix. Marvin Stroll will be into the pit lane, so was not improving on that lap time. But Pascal Stix in the final moments has been beaten, because Christopher Hyman has come straight back and slapped that pole position out of Core Sim Racing's hands.
I don't know what they do for qualifying at the German Sim Racing team office. I really don't. Maybe they've got some special drink that they have before qualifying, because their performance right here has been stunning. And again, it's not a BMW, it's not a Porsche. Yet again, it's a McLaren taking pole position. But the question is, for German Sim Racing, can they maintain it? That's been their main gremlin so far this year. If anything, this could be their realistic chance to get out there and take their first win.
Could this be the day? The thing is, though, is around a circuit like this, you can never, ever know. It's one of those tracks where pole position potentially means less than on others, and that's no disrespect, because getting pole position here is exceptionally difficult. But in the sense of the actual race itself, it's one of those ones where necessarily we can see the grid all over the place. So German Sim Racing by ACV on pole position. Hyman, fantastic lap time. Pascal Stix would be in second position and will hand the car over in the 34 for Core Sim Racing on the front row of the grid. Marius Gollenbeck was good enough for third position, and Marvin Stroll for Sim RC will be handing the car over to his teammate, and they've been fantastic so far this season. We'll see what the 76 can do. Lucas de Vries, Sim RC, the 77 in fifth position, with Fiercely Forward up on the third row of the grid in sixth. Kevin Krosny for Team RaceSpot, I think, might be a little bit disappointed with that qualifying, but no, they can race their way up. And then we've got the first of the BMWs, the Azatec Sim Sports Volante car of the 57, with Kairos Competition and the other Azatec Sim Sports Volante, all BMWs 8, 9 and 10 and 11, because Maniti Racing White, also another one of those BMWs, looking to go a little bit stronger here in the race, and they have done it in qualifying. Maniti Racing Green, the number 78, once only good enough for 12th place. And then the Alcantech NHR McLaren McLaren won't be too impressed with that. We've seen some great pace out of that Alcantech NHR car, and I don't think they'll be particularly pleased with the final row of the grid all by themselves in 13th spot, but you know what they're like? These kind of teams just race their way up.
And that's been the case for Alcantech NHR all the way through the season. Every single round there's been an improvement with them. Maybe this one could offer a chance of getting up the order, maybe working their way out, and that could be a realistic chance, Lewis, because coming up now is Monza turn number 1. Carbon fiber will be damaged, cars will be hit, there'll be frustration all the way through. This could be as chaotic gets so far this season, but considering the quality of the drivers right here, you might just end up seeing a great fight, if not some great crashes at turn number 1. So strap yourselves in. This coming hour is going to be a proper draft fest.
I've seen some good racing at Monza. I've seen some not so good racing at Monza. I don't know, with the vibe that we got from Zolder, I'm feeling pretty positive about this. We've seen some great racing from this grid across the first 6 races of this season. And you know I'm going to ask this, Sommel.
Yeah.
Where's the race winner coming from?
I think it's still going to go for core sim racing. I think they've got momentum on their side. They just have grabbed every opportunity. But I'll be pleasantly surprised, if German sim racing can go out there and get their first one. I'm very keen on that.
I'd like to see it on Porsche, but I don't see it on Porsche. I think it's going to come from SimRC. I'm looking more towards the 76. I'm feeling good about the 76. We'll have to wait and see. It would be great to see German simracing.de by ACV on pole position. Marvin Lesser-Mollman taking the honours after Christopher Hyman's jumped out of the car, and towards the line they'll go. It's a long run down to the Rettifilio and a heavy braking zone indeed. A lot of Porsches in tow. We've seen the McLarens not have such a great start before. We've seen teammates come together time and time again across the Sprint Challenge and Sprint Masters. The green flag is in the air. We're about to get underway, and we certainly are so, but I actually think it might be a better launch from Core Sim Racing on the outside of the front row, but the power of that McLaren's just about enough. SimRC trying to get involved in that as well, looking to the inside where there wasn't really a gap, nearly 3 wide on that run down into turn 1. Everyone backing out, trying to chop and change. It's Azatec Volante coming through the middle as well. It looks like it could be good for the lead for German Sim Racing. It's tight as they go through, but it is Lesser-Mollman to hold on from Oscar Mangan, and also Gibson hanging on from Jürgen Frank as well.
Jürgen Frank is going to go on the outside for this one. This is going to be a bit crazy. Frank got a great jump, but just could not maximize all of it. The core cars are just blocking off all the road right now, as they should.
Now, where are they going to go through here? GSR are clearing off at the moment. Core covering off with Gibson behind the wheel. Jürgen Frank trying to go for the cutback, departing. The De La Rogier down towards Lesmo 1, allowing his teammate to clear off is the Core Sim Racing driver of Gibson. But I did wonder about one of the Volante cars that's worked up. That one's Matthias Burke in the Aztec Simsports Volante Racing red car that has moved its way up the order. It started in 8th spot and is now running in 15th in the slipstream. We're expecting a bit of a good start. I think he called that one quite well, someone.
Yeah, exactly. Volante have been quite good with their starts, and Matthias Burke making it work pretty well around here. I'm sorry about that one, but Jürgen Frank is getting closer, Lewis. This could be his chance, but can you actually do it at the Parabolica? That is going to be mighty risky coming up.
Well, I mean, what a lead it was by Lesser-Mollman, but that has disappeared, and Oscar Mangan on the scene. German Sim Racing already over to the left-hand side of the road, almost conceding defeat at the prospect of Core Sim Racing arriving on the scene. Oscar Mangan's going to hit the front now. This could be a tactical sort of race where we know there's going to be a pit stop. We know that some teams may want to try and save a little bit of fuel, and the slipstream punches an enormous hole in the air. And so if you're going to grab slipstream, if you're going to grab a little bit extra fuel, this is the part of the race where you're going to do it. Crossing the line then for the first lap of the race, it's German Sim Racing attacking Core Sim Racing at the front of the field. McLaren against Porsche. McLaren going for it around the outside, down at the Rettifilio. Is it going to work? It's going to be tight, but the drive is going to work in favour of Core, and that McLaren is going absolutely nowhere as Jürgen Frank, through the middle of all of it, has come through and is going to grab second.
That was, frankly, amazing from Jürgen Frank right there, grabbing the opportunity quite well, but this is going to be a tough challenge, Lewis. At the chicane coming up, he's got to block the door, and the McLaren has got the momentum right here.
Yeah, genius play from Oscar Mangan to give slipstream to try and force them to stay side by side. Jürgen Frank is going to hang on. I told you we don't need 100 cars to go side by side. Well, we just need 13 fantastic races, and that's exactly what we've got here. Jürgen Frank then up into second position, and that is confirmed. Lessa Mollman down into third, and Thomas Gibson a part of it. I'll say again, it was fantastic strategically from Oscar Mangan to try and leave them side by side through Curva Grande, and it worked perfectly. Left them side by side with the awkward De La Roger chicane, but it wasn't good enough because, let's be honest, that slipstream party is there. Any mistake here is going to really put Jürgen Frank onto the back end of the race lead in that 76. So GSR dropping backwards a little bit now into the clutches of Core Sim Racing's their second car in the 35. Thomas Gibson behind the wheel.
And now this is going to take a bit of strategizing. Do you actually go down the inside of the parabolica corner? Because if you do, you end up losing the momentum to the first chicane. But if you end up losing the momentum to the first chicane, if you come out behind there, maybe you can get a better run off the first chicane and get a run to De La Rogia. As we see the fourth place in the championship car, that's Racefox, fighting it out with the newcomers.
Yeah, obviously one of our proper championship contenders, Lucas Gabler, in that Racefox car. They'll want to work their way up the order a little bit more than where they presently are. They've actually dropped back a couple of positions, and unfortunately for them are under a fair amount of pressure as the Alcantech NHR car is also making some progress, and Racefox being dived there by Volante as well for good measure. A bit of side-by-side, a bit of flashing of lights as well from GSR. Not happy with what's just happened. It's going to create plenty of side-by-side behind as Fiercely Forward and the two Volante cars are going to go battling it out at the moment for what is sort of 6th, 7th position. It's so tight between them, and the Volante cars are pushing each other.
I thought they got 3 wide over there for a second. That was a bit crazy. And Volante blocking off that position yet again. But they just got played. Literally, German Sim Racing got played right there by Core Sim Racing. And now Racefox diving down the inside of the Lesmos. This is going to take a bit of commitment here. And do they make it work?
Oh, just about. But this is not really, this is not conducive to good lap times, backing out of it and nearly causing an incident between the Maniti 78 and the Alcantech NHR car. We're riding on board with Matthew Crisp, who's behind the wheel there, and is he going to go for a move on the Kairos car? I don't think so. I think he's almost like, oh God, could you not have just got back in line there? We want to get on with this, mate, please, pal, me good buddy. Dane Baird, though, potentially going to have to back out, bit of side-by-side, but Matthew Crisp is the one who does so in that Alcantech NHR McLaren, and now this is really the opportunity for Lucas Gabler to try and set his sights on closing in on Isaac Jean in the Fiercely Forward car, because they're all starting to get away a bit.
They are indeed, and Crisp is now for the first time in this race under attack. He's been the one who's attacking constantly. Here, he's under pressure from both the Maniti cars right here. Could be tricky to make a move around the outside of the Parabolica though, and Crisp blocks it off, but it's not going to be done just yet. Luca Wunsch is going to have a great opportunity down there at turn number 1. As like so many other drivers, Lewis, every single time you've come to turn number 1, there's been some opportunity coming up for everyone.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing here. Jamie Moon grabbing the position potentially on Marvin Lesser-Mulman, potentially coming back across the McLaren, and we've got Porsches 1, 2, 3 and 4, and wouldn't you know it, it is of course SimRC versus Core Sim Racing. It goes Core, then SimRC, then Core, then SimRC, then GSR. 2 Volantes directly behind that with the Fiercely Forward car in arrears. And I will say that Lucas Gabler has essentially caught up to that train again just a little bit, so maybe not tears for them. Kairos behind that, then it's Alcantech NHR, followed by the 2 Maniti Racing cars, the BMW for Maniti Racing after a decent qualifying performance when it comes to their time in contention for moving their way up the order. Unfortunately, not looking so good in the race. They are at the rear though, and they are still a part of this train deep in the slipstream. You can see here that Jürgen Frank, he's knocking at the door of Oscar Mangan. And can we rewind back to that fantastic race at Zolder? Was it these two battling it out?
It was indeed these two, and that battle, chef kiss, that was just Titanic in a way. There's no better word for that. We nearly lost our voices, we nearly lost our breaths when that was happening. It turns you into a little kid, battles like that one. And this is exactly what we could be getting right here, plus some more drafting. It's like they GP cars and put them at the Indy 500. That's what this could very well be like. There's so much drafting going around, and in a way, this could well come down to who leads the race, or rather who's second on the final lap. Because eventually if that gap is close enough, you could dart down the inside and take first position. Much like Formula 1 back in, what year was it that we had the closest finish? 78, wasn't it?
Was it 78? I thought it might have been a bit earlier than that when it was that four wide finish here at Monza. Let's listen in as we can see. We're looking backwards from Oscar Mangan to Jürgen Frank. Is Jürgen Frank going for it? Didn't lift to fuel save, so I'm not saying that he's backing out of it intentionally, but keeping my eye on Jürgen Frank here as potentially not attacking Oscar Mangan as hard as would have been expected. Fiercely forward under attack from Team RaceSpot, which is to be expected. We've got the Team Volante cars going line astern here.
Indeed, yeah, things are getting a bit close. I'm a bit interested to see how the BMWs will turn out to be. I'm also more interested to see if Jürgen Frank actually goes for the send on the exit of this lap or not. Because remember, SimRC was also chasing one the last time out at Zolder. And what I genuinely liked about SimRC in that race, Lewis, was they picked their battle quite well. They timed the overtake to perfection. They did it with 10 minutes to go. So they left enough of a gap so that if things went wrong, they had enough time. But they didn't do it a bit too early as well, so that, of course, simracing for that matter, could get time enough to execute a good move. Here, when battles are so close, you need your time to execute moves like that one. It can't just happen in one lap. And so I think Jürgen Frank might take his time with this one.
You've got to build yourself into it. There's no point in going for it. If you can sit on the rear end and basically not apply pressure to Oscar Mangan, and you know that Mangan's a plenty fast driver himself, the Irishman, as we're riding on board with Isaac Jean losing a position to Lucas Gabler at present. So Gabler in the Team RaceSpot simracing car now setting the sights on the two Volante cars, which we're looking backwards from at the front of this, the GSR car that's just dropping off in pace, looking out as the first of the Volante cars, as is RaceFox, who's diving it down the inside there. They're going to make that move stick. Gabler on an absolute charge. You'll hand over to Kevin Crosney, who we've seen plenty of great pace from, realistically speaking, over the season. But yeah, you're absolutely right. With Oscar Mangan, just sit there, try and build that gap, try and pull away from the field behind, and then go on the attack. So that even if you go on the attack and it doesn't work, well, you're going to finish second. Although we could be entirely wrong about that, as Jürgen Frank is not waiting around. He's gone for it at Rettifilio. Is there a way through? No, but space is given. Beautiful stuff between himself and Oscar Mangan. It's very, very tight from Rettifilio. SimRC about to hit the frontier in that number 76, running through Curva Grande. Oscar Mangan going to drop in behind, and there we go. SimRC at the front here at Monza.
But there could be a dummy coming up right here. Core Sim Racing heading to the outside line, but it's not good enough. But hey, look at the situation right now. There's two core cars coming up, and they could work in tandem to get the lone SimRC, because the next SimRC car is a couple of tenths of a second behind, and they need time to come up. So this could be a pretty lopsided battle, all things considered. But I suggest that maybe stick around right there. Stick around in second place. Maybe you can save a little bit of fuel if that matters a lot.
Well, I mean, it should, theoretically speaking, shrink your fuel stop. I mean, if you were really being pedantic about it and you could calculate it into your strategy, you might be able to start with a little bit less fuel, expecting to be in the slipstream, so you can start with a slightly lighter car or anything in that sort of vein. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Jürgen Frank under a monster amount of pressure from Oscar Mangan and Thomas Gibson. Jamie Moon a little bit too far back. Look at this side-by-side through Ascari. This never works. And GSR, they're going to be 3 wide off of Ascari. Alcantech NHL come across, and there goes GSR into the barrier, bringing the Maniti Racing 78 with him, coming through the Kairos car and the Maniti Racing White. A bit of a flash of lights there from Isaac Jean in that fiercely forward car. RaceFox going to grab the position on Alcantech, and I can tell you that was going to happen 99 out of 100 times. There was going to be contact 3 wide off of that.
That's exactly what happens if you clip the exit of the Ascari curve. You lose control and you end up crashing. Speaking of losing control, well, SimRC might end up losing the lead right here. Koa going for the send.
Yeah, let's see what happens. 34's got to go around the outside, and of course, beautifully given. Thomas Gibson leaving enough room for Oscar Mangan to basically do whatever he wants at that point of the track. Because if you were racing, if that was the SimRC car directly behind Oscar Mangan, you'd have left it just on the inside there, so he can't try the cutback. He has to go around the outside but obviously when you've got your teammate in tow, you can really play out the tactical game beautifully. We'll say Volante are marching forward at the moment. We've got 2 SimRC, 2 Core, 2 Volante in the top 6. Let's see what happened there, and yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, it was fine. The contact was okay, but they just got a very horrible exit. And NHR, of course, Architect, they're just wanting to get a bit too aggressive in that situation. Now, let's see what the stewards have to say about that, because there is live race control, but that was a bad idea, right? It just wasn't going to work 3 wide over there, and you put it the perfect way, Lewis. 99 out of 100 times, that was going to be a crash. But what a calamity for German sim racing. Started on pole position, and where are they now?
I will say I'm going to give a little bit to Matthew Crisp there. Of course, he doesn't want to exceed coming off of there. He wants to get back on, but otherwise he might get a slowdown or something like that. So wants to get back on. And of course, Lesser Molman's sat there thinking, the only thing I can do here is go in a straight line, because if I go left, I might make contact. If I go right, I might make contact. Not everyone's racing on triple screens, right? And so it creates difficulty there. Oscar Mangan, though, triples or not, he's going for the move at Parabolica, and we do have 4 for the race lead, all going to be separated by less than a second as we cross the line this time by. It's going to be very, very tight. Jürgen Frank is going to hit the strike first, but Oscar Mangan is there. 0.4 separates the top 4 cars. Attempt between them, we're going to get some 3 wide. The course in racing, I hope they're communicating, as Jamie Moon for SimRC sets the fastest lap of the race, then lifts out of it. We've got 3 wide down to the Retifilio. Oscar Mangan on the inside with, you've got on the middle part of the racetrack in the yellow and black car, it was Jürgen Frank and of course Thomas Gibson, who, as they all come through despite all of that drama, they're all hanging on to their positions. Okay.
Oh well, this is just turning off to be an all-star race, this one. SimRC VRS SCO, not just one car, but both of them all at the same time. That was a good technique, a good try and get SimRC cornered, and now they're being pushed to the outside line. This could get crazy.
Here comes Mangan, it's a big curb on the inside, and Jürgen Frank knows it. He leaves enough room, but this is going to be a disaster for SimRC, who are going to lose potentially both positions. Gibson to the inside, hitting Lesmo 1 around there. It's going to be Oscar Mangan to the lead of the race, but SimRC, the 76, just desperately trying to hang on to second place, but Gibson realistically has the greatest line through there. They are playing as close as they can, and Jürgen Frank, of course Oscar Mangan's going to give slipstream to his teammate, but as perfectly judged as you could possibly imagine. Jürgen Frank hands on to second position, weaving from Mangan to try and hold Jürgen Frank behind, just about able to do so, and the 4 of them, how pretty is this? Someone like this is surely proper photograph territory, because this is fantastic racing.
I mean, to put out the best tango dance, you need a good partner, and SimRC have just found Core Sim Racing right here, and they're putting out such a lovely show, which continues on again at the exit of the Parabolica. Because the last time out, Core Sim Racing had a very interesting ploy. They wanted to make sure that the SimRC car was overwhelmed from both the sides, but it did not work. They could not be the last of the late breakers, and that way, even Jamie Moon's attack got curbed. He was setting in the fastest lap. Even that did not work out this time.
You can see, by the way, in the background, RaceSpots have potentially gained a position on Volante, which will go side by side on to see that. It's Diaz on the left. You've got the RaceSpots car on the right. They'll back out of it, and we'll go back to the race lead as SimRC and Core once again going side by side. SimRC have the preferred line, but we know that drive from Oscar Mangan around the outside's potentially a decent one. It should give the drive down into the De La Rozier, and SimRC back to the race lead. They are going to be chopping and changing all day. Jürgen Frank trying to take what will be the defensive line, running around Curva Grande, but it gives him the inside into De La Rozier, but Oscar Mangan's almost as near as makes no difference. Called that one beautifully, but once again over that inside curb. It's a monster curb on the inside of the second part. I don't think my boys is going to be able to take this race. They're still side by side down into Lesmo. Jürgen Frank around the outside, Oscar Mangan on the inside. Perfect respect between them, and Jürgen Frank, I'm sorry, but if you can take the lead here, massive hats off. Around the outside once again at Lesmo 2. Perfect drive off, but look who's going to be involved in this now. Gibson's going to push his teammate.
This is going to be fantastic. This is Core working together, and Jamie Moon says, well, if you can do it, I can do it as well. And Ascari, 2 wide, 2 times. This is going to be madness. I think Core are just going to get the lead on this one, and so they do. How awesome is this, Lewis, that even after the craziest of scraps, they get back in and they're so disciplined with it. And I don't want to be that guy, but I have to be that guy. Look who's behind! That train for P4 is right here as well.
Well, side by side's not really great for lap times. I've said that time and time again, and I'm more than happy to say it once more, especially if we get side by side for the race leaders, trying to make it a course sim racing 1-2, backing out of it. You're absolutely right. Matthias Berg, Michael Diaz, you've also got Isaac Jean and Lucas Gabler for Team RaceSpot back a part of it. Moon, as you're absolutely right, should be able to gain the position here and across the stripe. That is certainly what's happened. And Jürgen Frank giving slipstream to his teammates to try and pull clear and get two Sim RCs onto the podium. It's tight though, picking their way through. You've obviously got Matthias Berg there, just trying to find room in that BMW for Volante. A little bit of contact there between Sim RC and Core. That realistically is the first bit of contact we've seen all race.
Exactly, and this could may well be the last, considering how well they're fighting. They've been so clean so far. But watch this one. Core again being forced to the inside line right here, and they back off. They've just not got enough pace at that corner. At the top as well, things have just slightly carved on. You can see the effects of that battling. I think they were around 3 odd seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. The rest of the pack is no longer the rest of the pack. They're right here. It's like Moto3 all over again, Lewis.
I think that's. I think Matthias Berg has got a slow down penalty through De La Roger there, and may just drop back in front of the Alcantech NHR car that's driven by Matthew Crisp. Okay, question for you then, Somil. We're about 6 minutes away from pit window opening, from being able to come into the pit lane. You're Race Fox. You're in the middle of it. You want to win a championship. What do you do?
I think you go with the pack, right? You can't go
Really?
aloof here at Monza because you need the draft. Everyone else is going to have the draft. Everyone else is going to put up a mighty good in-lap and an out-lap. You can't just be right there on your own, expect your lap time to be that good. Even Kosh showed the same thing in qualifying. You need a teammate. You need somebody working. Thing is, Race Fox don't have a teammate. But Gabler does, and Gabler is going to the outside line here. No, Gabler doesn't. I'm just confused there, but still.
I would pit. I'd get out of it. I would get out of this battle. Yes, there's no slipstreamers. It is going to be we're going to hang on as Isaac Jean at the moment from Gabler. Again, trying to find a way through. Matthias Berg will be back a part of it. But no, I am all over coming in pit lane, getting out of it. Because yes, slipstream is king around here, but side by side is slower. And that's the thing, is that you can jump quite a few positions by just driving around by yourself. Berg, look at the straight line speed. Goodbye BMW. Down into the Retta Filio. Matthias Berg potentially going to try and get inside the top 6 by gaining another position on Fiercely Forward and on Team Race Fox on the start finish straight alone. Fantastic stuff for the BMW, back up in the 6th spot.
I think Matthias Berg would be doing the Jeremy Clarkson smug face as he was passing both those cars right there. Like, slow down, chumps. I'm going to go and make my move. Much like Matthew Crisp, the Alcantech NHR car, again trying for something on the Fiercely Forward machine. This is going to be a bit critical right here. De La Rocha. It's a hard curb, that one. And again, Lewis, whatever momentum you have at Monza is thrown away by the chicanes, and NHR not able to make this one work.
Yeah, it's like you say, you're going to lose time if you're going to battle it out. If you're going to go for a move around here, it's like, we've said time and time again, haven't we? If you're going to go for a move, no half-hearted move. You've got to go for it. You've got to take it. And like right now for Gabler, I wouldn't even be leaving this side by side. It's pointless. All you're going to do is lose time. All you're going to do, you're not really going to make it stick around the outside. It's fantastic to see, but look, Berg there with the slower run through Ascari. That's a couple of tenths lost to that pack up ahead. Time that you don't really want to be losing. Let them get back in line, let them get on with it, and then try and overtake them in a nice clean move that doesn't affect for lap time. By the way, speaking of lap time, speaking of slipstream, and speaking of punching big holes in air, we've got four cars back for the race lead, despite a couple of them clearing off into the distance. And I think we might well have a 5th in the form of Michael Diaz for Aztec Sport Volante Racing.
Bring it on, bring it on. This is going to be fun. And now, when you're locked up in a slipstream battle like this one, it's much like an oval race, and you might be wondering, well, when you're driving so fast, when you're always side by side, how can you think and make those rational decisions? Well, it helps to have their teammates sitting in the side, right, and strategizing, helping them out with that. And Crisp goes to the inside line at the first chicane. This is going to be finally their move done, and it helps. It helps to have your teammates that can sit by the side and work out those strategic decisions. And for Race Fox, Force of Habit, they will be working on that. I think they might just take that chance, you know.
Well, to be fair, I mean, Krosny's been so fast this season. You might as well just jump out and like, give it to him, just at least strategically to pass over and see what happens. I mean, why not? What do you have to lose right now? Because you're not in the position you'd want to be in 7th spot. You need to be higher than that if you want to continue to fight for the championship over the second half of the season. And losing time constantly in this battle is really not going to help, especially whilst the top lot are essentially going to start to pull away from you. I mean, don't get me wrong, the battling is incredible to see, and I'm a man who likes a bit of side-by-side in a racetrack, but you know, if you're in the car, you'd be sat there getting a little bit frustrated now. You're thinking, oh my God, don't fight me, please. We want to stay in line here.
I want to stay alive as well. Yeah, this is going to be a bit crazy. And Volanti again, just not making the track wide enough for Racefox, and this is going to be a bit crazy. Outside line should never work around here. Damon Hill learned it the wrong way around in 96. Things are okay though somehow. They're alive. Everyone's alive.
I don't know. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not good for lap time, but it is fantastic for the visual. We're going to get 3 wide between 3 different cars on the run down into Parabolica, as the McLaren of Alcantec and HR are going to be a part of it. Lucas Gabler does finally pick up the position, but you can potentially say he might lose it quite soon. Very, very wide through the Parabolica as we ride on board with Isaac Schiefer fiercely forward, coming back across, nearly making contact. There is Matthias Berk, and there we go, bit more of 3 wide action. Gabler on the left, Berk in the middle, and then Matthew Crisp. Look at that straight line speed from that BMW. It is monster fast in the straight.
It's like the BMW says, beep beep, move out of the way as it goes past. It's just that brash, arrogant looking car in the straight line, but in the corners, the nimble Porsche gets it. Look at this. This is beautiful stuff. This battle could go anywhere, anytime, and Racefox are being pushed to the outside line. NHR going a bit bold with this one. I doubt they've got enough momentum on this side, though.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. It would be bold to send it around there, and here comes Gabler to the inside over the curb beautifully, and Team Racefox 7th position. I wasn't really predicting that one, or 6th position rather. Absolutely threw that one in and grabbed that one from Burke and ripped it out of his hands. We'll also say Jamie Moon, the 77, has got past Jürgen Frank now, so a switch for the 2 SimRC cars. Interesting call.
Has he got past, or has he been let past? That's the question. Now, we're at this funny stage where both their cars need big results, but the 77 more than the 76, Lewis. The 77 is far higher in the championship, and if there's someone in SimRC that can generally go for it, it's them for the championship. So maybe a strategic call at this part of the season.
Well, the pit window is officially open, by the way. We are at that point in the race. This is the first time coming round that someone can take a gamble, can take a risk. Who is it going to be? Oscar Mangan will be the first one to come through. I doubt there is going to be any sort of risk right now taken by Court Sim Racing across the line. There we go. Jürgen Frank is going to be into the pit lane. So Jürgen Frank, the first one to bite it, the first time of asking in the number 76, dives down pit lane. And so we do have someone taking a bit of a gamble.
Interesting, right? The 76 is the team with the least to lose, if you put it that way. They've got half the points of the Core Sim Racing 34 car in the championship. If there's anyone who can have a free rein and do what they like to do, it's them, and so they've utilized that to perfection. Well, let's see if it's to perfection. They've utilized it for sure. You've only got to wait and watch to see where they come out. But you might be right, Lewis. The clean air might benefit you, but it has calmed down at the top, hasn't it? They're not going as side by side, so they're not losing as much time as we thought they would.
Well, by the way, as much as we're in the middle of combat here, I do want to throw out a little bit of a plug whilst we're here. Remember that we do also do a giveaway throughout the season, and if you want to take part in that, you can do so by heading to giveaway.sportscaropen.com for your chance to win. We give away one of these Lego Technic Porsches, which, by the way, took me ages to build. I was watching the Olympics whilst doing it. It's fantastic, though. Really impressive bit of kit. I won't lie, and that's not even me trying to sell it to you. It is absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed building that one. Or you can get yourself that's per round, and then a Direct Force Pro wheelbase that's the grand prize given out across the season. So go and get yourselves involved. Again, giveaway.sportscaropen.com for your chance. Just head on over, and to be honest, not got much to lose, but plenty to gain, and that, as I feel some of our drivers and teams do out on the race circuit as well, because this is intense. Every single time we go racing, I said, 13 cars, we're down to 11. Who cares? The racing's so intense.
It's madness. It's just crazy. Oh, interesting.
34
bit of a gamble
pitting,
here.
yeah, and a 35 as well.
Okay. Okay then. Both of them are going in together. I think they've got to make this work. And look at who's there behind them as well. It's the Race Fox. The Sly Foxes have also boxed in together. Now this puts the 77 in a very weird spot. No slipstream, no drafting, which the co-cars will have, by the way.
Well, this is it though, is that what we'll do when they come round, obviously, with the 76, we'll see how long the 77 is going to stay out, but we can compare lap times between them. We can find out what's going on, what's actually happening, and of course we'll keep our eye as to where Corsim Racing come out in comparison to the 76 off the jacks. We've seen a little bit of tyre strategy and whatnot, but it's mostly fuel and switching out the drivers. Marvin Strell, reserve driver, jumping in for Felix Luding onto the start-finish straight now as Corsim Racing departing pit lane. We'll see what the gap's going to be between the two of them, and I think Corsim Racing going to be out way ahead.
Interesting, right? This is going to be fun. Only a 10-minute pit window, this. And someone's played their cards really well right now, Lewis.
Some have indeed. They say it ends when we get to 25 minutes left to go. And with that in mind, you don't have a large pit window, especially around a longer track like this. You don't have that many opportunities. It's nearly 2 minutes in length. So there's not actually that much time left. You can see in the top right of your screen how long is left in the pit window, how long is left for some of these teams to come into pit lane. It's quite obvious which ones have been in pit lane when you consider it's so slow in that pit lane sequence. The SimRC car, the two Volante racing cars in second and third, Alcantech fiercely forward, and Maniti Racing White all yet to pit. And I will say Marvin Strell is onto the rear end of those two Corsim Racing cars, so things are looking good. And into the pit lane, Jamie Moon down the way of pit road. Volante going to take the lead of the race, so at least they get a lap led.
Yeah, at least one, which is fun. We get a BMW leading a lap,
yeah.
So that's a bit of a one for the record books in a way.
I mean, I'm sure they'd be hoping for more, and to be fair, on pace and straight line speed and such, especially whilst everyone's battling like crazy, wouldn't necessarily rule anything more out of them. But yeah, Michael Diaz to lead the race for Volante Racing Blue. So at present, holding at the front. You can see teammate in the pit lane. You can see the number 80 Maniti Racing White also in the pit lane. Here we go then, round the final quarter. The number 34 leading the train and pulling away, it must be said. But out of pit lane, there goes your number 77 back behind the wheel, Lucas De Vries. In the wheel of the Corsim Racing car, it's Pascal Stix. I don't know. I'm feeling good about Pascal Stix here. Maybe sweeping it around the outside, but it needs to be bold. It needs to be brave. It's going to be very, very tight, but it's not quite close enough. And Pascal Stix is going to have to settle for what would be second in this line. But SimRC behind, going side by side with Corsim Racing. Marius Gollenbeck on the attack, trying to get past Marvin Strell, or rather trying to hold off Marvin Strell, and Gollenbeck not able to do so.
This is a bit crazy. We knew this would happen right at the end of the pit window. Everyone's got their stops in. Now this battle is broken up into two parts, and now things will be quite fun to see who can get the edge. All of the strategizing, all of the variables are gone. It's just down to pure driver performance, and why don't we love that? We absolutely do. We saw what both these teams can do together. It takes two to tango, and they certainly made that work at Zolder. And if you can make it work at Zolder, Monza is like paradise for you.
Yeah, so much space from side to side. You can go 4 or 5 wide around here, and I say 5 wide. I mean, you can just about fit 5 cars side by side. As Pearson Ford come in on the penultimate call down into pit lane. They will have one more time to come down into pit lane before the window closes, and that's exactly what Alcantech and Aztec Sports Volante, I believe, will be doing. So, the 76, Marvin Strell, Marius Gollenbeck in the number 35 Court Sim Racing. This is going to be a tight fight, but also, again, between their sister cars as well. The 34 versus the 77. It's the 77 at the moment leading this group, what we do believe will become our race leaders. You can see their race fox so far back. Their time pit lane, their pace, it's just not really been good enough, but still, hoovering up consistent points. So they grab a top 5 here. It's consistent points, that's what matters.
Yeah, I wonder where their pace has gone for the last couple of rounds, though. Genuinely do. It's a bit strange because the pace in Barcelona was superb as well, same as the case in Hockenheim. So this is a bit bizarre as it's happening right now. Tell you what's not bizarre. Co is sending a move down the inside right here for net P3, and good one. They've got it done well.
Done from Marius Gollenbeck there. Marvin Strell just didn't really fight it too hard to the apex at the Retafilio, and will sit in the slipstream of Court Sim Racing. And once again, my eyes would be glued less so on the car ahead and more so on the grouping ahead of that, and wanting to catch up, wanting to be back a part of the lead of the race. It's almost in that sense you compared it to oval racing, but you know, I don't know if you've done a Daytona 500, or to be honest, this does apply for any sort of super speedway racing on ovals, but every time you have a green flag pit stop at the Daytona 500, I've done it 3 years on the bounce on iRacing, and it's good fun. It's incredibly stressful, but it's making sure that you nail that pit lane sequence, but you almost don't want to nail it perfectly in that sense, because you don't want to come out too far ahead of everyone. You want to be a part of that group. We obviously in here you do want to be out miles ahead of everyone, because then you can at least pull away from everyone. But you know, right now you really can't afford to mess it up, because once you've lost that slipstream, once you've lost, you know, a second and a half, it's really hard to gain that back. Final times in the pit lane for the final 2 teams, being Alcantech HR and Aztec Sports Volante. So our final switches happening in driver formats, and 25 minutes left on the clock this race, and then it will be SimRC at the head of the field by Court Sim Racing, by another Court Sim Racing with the 35, and by the SimRC 76.
I think a lot of it is also down to what sort of driver turns up on the day as well, Lewis. Now, we often end up speaking a lot about strategizing your pit stops, knowing exactly when to come in, but some of the teams at times, they just often make the seam less variable, because they all have found the efficient lineup and they all come up similar times. Well, strategy is a bit limited right here, right, in terms of fuel and tires as well, so you get to see that variable one. But genuinely, what I love about this championship is it's on those intangible elements. It's on the driver, it's on how you feel that day, it's on the frame of mind that you've got right there, and how you can attack during your stint, because eventually all that becomes a bit irrelevant, that the sort of gap in of where you come out. Slipstream does matter, but they're so efficient with it in the case of Court Sim Racing and SimRC that it becomes a bit less important in a way.
While the trio of BMWs battling out of the rear end of the field, we were expecting a bit more from the BMWs. We've got one right up there inside the top 5, and of course it is the Volante car that are right up to grips with this. Let's see what happened to the Miniti Racing white car, the number 80, a little bit over. I kind of feel the Kairos car might have given enough room there. I know it looked not so great from that angle, so it doesn't from that one, launching it over the curb and potentially getting a slowdown penalty, which is going to be served immediately, and Volante are going to get through. I kind of get the vibe that they can't, you know, at least from the angle that I saw it there, they just came together a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's a racing incident, right? That's what racing is all about.
Yeah.
And so far, we've only seen one major piece of contact. I think this is the only time we saw actually a car being forced out of the circuit. And it's been, what, 40-odd minutes so far? Yeah,
that one obviously being Lesser Molman. Quite a lot earlier in the race, you know, a good 10, 15 laps ago. So
that was not someone being forced out of the track. That was someone being bullied out of the track.
Yeah, but then, you know, like even that has... the thing is, with incidents like that, you know, I always try and approach it from a do I understand what is actually happening. Of course, you know, there's still blame to be applied, but, you know, being I want to understand what's actually happened and why everyone's made the decision they've made. And in that scenario, I can look at it as a whole and be like, I can understand why all three drivers made the decision they made.
Yeah.
It's still, it's still a bit of a naughty thing to do. It's still potentially, you know, a penalty and whatnot. I won't speak on behalf of race controllers. Marvin Stroll dives it to the inside of Marius Golombek, but Golombek is going to hold firm around the outside at the first part of the Retifilio and across the second as well. Third spot at the moment. But that's the instant where you kind of think, I mean, it's probably a penalty that, you know, I do get what you were trying to do, and it's probably the kind of penalty where they might just go, yeah, do you know what, I messed up. It's one of those things.
And it's so much on your instincts as well, right? If you're Alcudek NHR in that situation where you're seeing all the pandemonium unfold right before your eyes, but you've only got, what, less than half a tenth of a second to react. What do you do in that case? And they went for the aggressive, they went for the attacking option and didn't quite work out, right? It's racing. Eventually you can't quite completely ignore the dangers of racing. When you're going side by side at such hard speeds, there is bound to be some sort of contact here and there. And that was one case where it did indeed happen. But what we can speak about is the overall broad implication, and the broad implications of this are not very good for German sim racing. They've had so many chances where they could have had big results. Maybe, if not a podium, this could have been a very good top 5 for the McLaren. That looked very, very strong. But again, here we are. They're out of this race, and the same can be said for that Maniti car as well. They've withdrawn.
Look, we'll be here, German sim racing.de. There's been potential. Yeah. There's been potential for real, greatness, for real, impression on something good in this championship. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked for them. And it's one of those things. It is what it is. Some of those seasons they just don't click. But like I say, it's happened now. I will say, by the way, as we're going to watch once again, Core versus SimRC versus Core versus SimRC behind us. But the Volante car, once again, in contention for something even better than the top 5. Ross Yost, who's the reserve driver, replacing Caraballo this round, jumping in behind the wheel and looking very, very pacey indeed, as I believe Stroll might have been looking to the inside of Golombek again, but I think Golombek's just too good in the brakes down into turn one. I'll tell you something about Marius Golombek. The first time I ever raced with Marius Golombek, which was in 2013. I'm not sure if we were so much in the same group. We were in the same series. We'll go with that. And it was in flat sixes on R Factor 1 around here. And running down into turn 1, racing for a team called Spade Racing with one of the DTM trophy drivers being Tim Heinemann, who ended up winning that championship, and one of the most successful drivers in sim racing, or in our fact sim racing in various touring car leagues at that point in that series anyway, was Jesper Tolborg, or Jesper Nielsen you might know as. And they all went down into turn 1 on the end of lap 1. They all downshifted for the first corner, and every single one of them, pop, 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 all of their engines just went. It's genuine gold. Bless him, but it was genuine gold.
Oh man, if only we had a replay to see something like that.
I'm sure there's a broadcast somewhere.
Gotta dig down the archives to find it.
Oh, yeah, so it probably was about 8 years ago, actually, from this point. Oh, there's contact there, though, and Golombek, just managing to keep it on the road from Stroll. I'm not actually sure if it was contact or just losing a bit of the rear end. And it looks like it might have been a little bit on the rear left of Golombek's car. Now pulling it back over in defence, but Stroll will be wise to it and will come back to the inside, running into Parabolica. What does Golombek do? Is he going to hold around the outside? Is he going to back up and go for the over-under? They're tight again through Parabolica, and Ross Yost is sat there wondering, waiting, seemingly ready to pounce as well as, I thought coming into the pit lane with Stroll.
Yeah, that would have been a bit bizarre right now. And so they go side by side. Ross Yost could just have a very good opportunity coming up in that next lap. But door to door, side by side they go. That right there is the picture of the season. SimRC and Co always wheel to wheel. And so this time out, SimRC get the edge, but Co could have a good run back. Ross is here for Volante, by the way. That BMW could muscle his way up.
Well, here we go. Curva Grande, Ross Yost is there. And we know the straight line speed of the BMW is pretty mighty, but it's got to do it the long way around. One of the longest corners on the season. It's, I mean, it's less of a corner, more of just an extended period down into the next corner. There's a bit of three wide, and Marius Gollenbeck coming back across, having to back out. All three of them somehow survive. Ross Yost gains a position up into 4th place. It's 2 reserve drivers battling it out with Marius Gollenbeck. It's tight stuff. I don't know how you want to view that. One of them may say that Gollenbeck moved a bit too much and tried making it 3 wide.
I've got to see a replay of that. I really couldn't tell. I was just a bit too excited and he makes an error. No! Ross Yost for Volanti misses his braking marker and he's got to do the hard work all over again, Lewis. It was so fun as well it lasted.
Sure. The thing is, right, you'll see it there, and that is experience. Gollenbeck is sat right on his rear end. Let's take a look again at this. So watch Gollenbeck's car. So there's space for a car there. Let's see what happens. Who moves? I'd say it was Gollenbeck there, but they all survived. So, you know, racing incident, move on, get on to the next one. I kind of feel it was a bit more Gollenbeck, but watch this. As we ride on board with Gollenbeck, he sits right on the rear end of Yost running into Lesmo 2. Now, I wonder if there was contact. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. Let's listen. Let's focus. I think there was. I think there was a bit of a nudge.
Interesting. Gamesmanship everywhere, all the time.
It's so tight when it's like that. I thought he just more, you know, sat on the rear view mirror and forced Yost into a mistake, but I'm not actually necessarily convinced by that. I think there was a little bit of a touch between them, but it's so light, and like there, you just need to be unloaded a little bit to cause drama. Now trying to get back involved in the race potentially for something better. Yanni, Krosny, Yost as well, all battling it out for the top 5. To see there that Yanni gained the fastest lap of the race for Fiercely Forward on the previous venture around Monza. Time ticking away though, not many more opportunities.
Yeah, interesting, and now it's going to be a fun one for Gollenbeck. He's been surviving the last few laps and he's been a part of so many big battles right now. It's a bit relentless, isn't it, Lewis, that once one battle ends, straight away you're flushed in right down to another one. The same case for Gollenbeck, the same case for Ross Yost as well right now. You just can't have one moment of peace and quiet, and this is going to be a bit crazy. 30 minutes of hard racing for each driver where you don't even have a single second of peace and quiet, because all the time you've got to be wondering, well, do I slipstream at this one? Do I go to the outside, on the inside? Am I losing too much time by going side by side? I love it. It's amazing. The driver's always being forced to work.
I will say, if we get the highlights at the end of this race, when we before we head to, reminder that there's a second race coming up after this. We're not going to know what part of the race we're looking at because there's just been so much action, and you'll see. You know, we'll look at a clip of a course in racing versus SimRC, and it'll be like, well, which time was this?
Exactly. Why we need highlights, right? Just watch the whole race. That is the highlight in itself. Well, still, I think it's going to be quite a fun job for anyone who's making the highlights package, because they genuinely can't choose which one to take out. It's going to be amazing. This is just turning out to be one of the best races we've had so far this season, and that's some high honor, considering every race has been mighty, mighty fun. Well, let's take a look at this one. Can the Porsches actually do something on the BMW at the straights, Lewis? It seems like pointless, but they're trying nevertheless.
You've always got to try, you've always got to give it a go, but at the moment it does seem...
done it.
But yeah, it's more so on the brakes, but did wonder if it was a little bit too much from Krosny, but yeah, way too much from Krosny, and Yost going to hang on. Oh, look how close there was contact there, a little bit of a bump, a little bit of a push, just trying to push him along is Marius Gollenbeck. Back on the wheel of Strellen. Look how close it is. Gollenbeck then lifts out just as they head into De La Rozier, waiting for the move, just speeding them up, pulling them away from the pack behind, maybe trying to make Strell a little bit too quick into the corner, and that might well be what's going to happen there. Gollenbeck to the inside and through potentially at Lesmo 1. They're going to be side by side, and SimRC versus Core Sim Racing once again been the talking point not only of the day but of the season, and Gollenbeck back onto the podium.
But this could be Strell's chance yet again. There's a long run down to Ascari, and the Porsche of the SimRC does get the momentum out right here. The outside line is a risky place to go right there, but SimRC is a team that loves taking risks every time.
It's tight. but where is it going to come? Where is there going to be an opportunity? But not only an opportunity, the final opportunity. That's the real kicker here. Is, you know, you're the leader, you're in third, you're in fifth, whatever. You know, whether you're SimRC Core or Volante, or even the other Volante behind with the Alcatec NHR car, leading the battle right now is almost pointless. It's a fruitless effort. For SimRC leading the race right now, I'd be sat there thinking, Core are definitely dead. Between Core and SimRC, it's a 50-50. It is a coin toss. We don't know which way it'll go. That is why we love Monza. It is widely labelled and regarded the temple of speed. Yeah. We know why.
There's a fun track to race for driving on your own now. You'd be much better off going to Imola, to be honest with you. But for racing, Monza is just the place to be, right? And the race we mentioned early on, Lewis, the Formula 1 one, it was 1971 where Peter...
71.
Yeah, actually beat Ronnie Peterson by 1/100th of a second. That was how close it was. And I think Jackie Stewart also ended up winning a race right here at Monza. I don't remember the exact year, but he planned it to perfection, had a slightly higher gear ratio in relation to all the other cars, and the entire race, Stewart only led a handful of laps, but he led the final lap. He just got a better exit right there. And when all the other cars had to shift up to 6th gear, Stewart, well, he didn't have to. He had the high gear ratio. And so he was able to zoom past and take the win on the final lap. That is how you tackle Monza. Who knows, maybe Core might be in the best place, but 0.5 of a second, that's not good enough. You've got to be a bit closer than that one.
And whilst it's changed over the years, yes, we've lost plenty of the track, of course, mostly the oval section, which quite a bit of it is missing these days. But, you know, the core identity of the circuit's not actually changed that much in a very, very long time. It stayed very much the staple it is, whilst there have been calls to change it in various ways.
Yeah.
I like that Monza's just one of those classic tracks. It's one of those ones you can go back to with character and stuff. Sure, it's not for everyone, but almost every time we race here, whether it's in sim racing or in motorsport in the real world, the action is enthralling.
Yeah, the action really is enthralling, and part of it comes down to turn number 1. It's a necessary evil, let me put it that way. Yeah. It is such a bad corner. It really is in terms of momentum. You just feel all of it being broken down in a matter of a second. But what would racing at Monza be if it hadn't been for turn number 1? Would we see these outrageous dive bombs? Would we see people go side by side through the middle of the corner and still come out side by side and still go side by side at Curva Grande? I don't think they possibly would, right? They wouldn't risk going side by side at Curva Grande if there was no chicane right there. So it's a necessary evil. It works out so well. And that's the lovely part about the circuit. On paper, it may look like the BMW would be the dominant one right here, but through smart driving and through efficiency and strategy, the Porsches are the one up ahead.
I'd say if turn 1 was effectively Curva Grande and you ran through into Della Roger, racing, for one, it'd be hilariously dangerous. And for 2, I agree with you. I think the racing would be good. I like the switchover that we get at turn 1, and then we see it maybe happen back into Della Roger, and then if you don't get it there, you can run it down into Lesmo and such. I mean, we've seen racing, or driving rather, I don't say racing, we've seen driving in the recent past run down where Della Roger is the first breaker zone, of course, when they did LMP1 testing and such.
Yep.
Back here, where they skipped the Retifilie, which, you know, is interesting in itself, but
good idea when you're driving on your own.
Well, yeah, when you're driving on your own and you need to work out the straight line speed, I mean, that's a car that's built for Le Mans, right? It's built for going in a straight line very, very quickly and quite a long straight indeed. Whereas you don't really get those straights anywhere else in motorsport unless you want to close down the Nordschleife and just do the Duttinger Hoa again and again and again. Which I don't think is, not a good idea.
It'll take you a while to get back there.
Exactly. And, you know, when testing, you need instant data. But it's always interesting. Let's see what's happening, though, in this battle. The 77 then leading the race. This is the battle for the very lead. You can see how tight it is. Core Sim Racing, once again, coming at them. Once again, they'll be taking the lead just about, but in the braking zone. I don't know about you. I don't feel they're going for it. I don't think I don't think Pascal Sticks is attacking this with all the might. I think he's trying to almost show Lucas de Vries, no, I am attacking. I am a part of this battle. I am really trying here, whilst also sitting there being like, the cards are in my hand.
You're absolutely spot on with that. You don't need to make the move right now. It'll be, well, 10 minutes to go at Zolder would be the best thing to do. 10 minutes to go at Monza would be the worst thing to do, because then you give the entire advantage to the car in the second place, who can do a Jackie Stewart maybe and edge you on the final lap. It's all about the person leading at the line. It doesn't matter how many laps you've led so far. It's just if you're the one leading at the line. I know it's blatantly obvious. It's too stupid to say in that way, but it is what it is. A fun fact, Max Verstappen has led almost 4 times the laps of Lewis Hamilton so far this season. He's around 5 odd points behind Lewis, 8 points to be precise. It doesn't matter how many laps you lead, it's which ones. And so that might be the approach that Go are going to use. And it's just gamesmanship right now. This is reminding SimRC that, well, we're still there, mate. If you can force an error right now, nothing like it.
And between them, realistically speaking, it's the consistency of Core that's brought them the championship lead at present. And that's the thing, is we'll see a bit of side-by-side. We'll see Lucas de Vries trying to defend once again. That SimRC, they've won more than Core this season. They've won twice the races of Core. They've won 4 versus Core's 2. Which, yes, you'd say that's it. It's pretty slam dunk to copy your analogy there when it comes to laps led. It's not even about winning the races. It's about winning the right races and being there or thereabouts when you're not winning, being in second place, consolidating. But this looks like it might well be the lead for Pascal Sticks. But is there going to be some early braking? Is there going to be giving it, or going to leave it to the inside? There's going to be a little bit of a brush between the two. The doors open. Lucas de Vries gives a little bit too much room on the exit of the Rettifilio. It was so tight when they hit the second part. They're going to run side by side all the way through Curva Grande, where Lucas de Vries has the inside of Pascal Sticks. It's SimRC potentially heading their way back up to the race lead. Asetek Simsports Volante in that 27 car has retaken 5th spot from Fiercely Forward, and we've still got this side by side action. It's going to be Core Sim Racing then leading from Lucas de Vries in the final 7 minutes of the race. Pascal Sticks has made it go and up into the race lead.
And our Sticks needs something special. He needs some great lap times to ensure that SimRC won't be in the draft right now. And the same thing can be said right there from Michael Yanni in the Fiercely Ford machine, constantly being one of the fastest cars on the circuit as it stands. But you rightly mentioned, Lewis, the Volanti car was able to edge ahead. And for Yanni right now, it's a precarious position. Do you focus more on the attack, or do you focus more on defending from a potent Racebox team behind? Racebox haven't been on the momentum so far. Let's not beat around the bush. But this could be their chance, right? One well-timed move, and they could climb right up there and maybe, just maybe, take not one, but 2 of them right here.
Again, this is the swing momentum-wise. This is that push in the second half of the season. You want to start this string of 6 grueling races over 3 weeks in the best possible way. And right now for Racefox, that's not what's happening. It's looking like it's going to become that race that we were expecting between SimRC and Core Sim Racing, that we got the inkling of back at the first round of the season at Hockenheim. It was only the disqualifications from SimRC that really opened the door. They'd be right in control if they'd not made those mistakes, and that's where the momentum is. But now they have, at the end of the day, they have made those mistakes, and Core Sim Racing have pounced, and they will continue to pounce. 5 minutes left on the clock. Let's see what will happen. You've got the battle for the podium was Core and SimRC going very, very tight. I think there might have been a dive from SimRC in the number 76 Strel, but no way through. Fiercely Forward on the right-hand side of your screen in that battle for 5th spot with Aztec Simsports Volante Racing Blue and Team Racefox as well. And our battle for the race lead, eyeing up a move again. Lucas de Vries, no way through on Pascal Sticks right now. Oh, but that might be a slowdown. That may well be close to getting a slowdown from Pascal Sticks. You can see how much dirt was thrown up. It was close. I don't think he's done one, but it was close. Closer than he'd want to be.
A good reminder for Pascal Sticks, do not push it that much harder. And that error right there has cost them a couple of tenths of a second. And there you see, everyone is right there closing up to each other in this battle for P1 and also in the one for P3 as well. It's like identical ones. It's like they're mirroring each other all the time. This could be the Sendo Arascari. Look at De Vries tries and smartly pulls back. I love the psychology right here, Lewis. I love that they're pushing hard, but right now the ace the ace of the pack is with the core sim racing car because they are the ones leading. The 77 is the one that desperately needs to lead and desperately needs to win a lot more than both the core cars.
Ooh, it's pretty, again, it's the intensity. And also, to remind you, this is not the only race we're doing today. We are following this up with another race, another qualifying. We get to do this again. So for anyone running out of breath right now in the cockpits of their cars with just 2 laps to go in the first race here at Monza in the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge, you've got to do it again. And so for some of these drivers, this is going to be a real hard task. Fiercely Forward, Racefox and Volante, but let's focus on our race lead deep on the brakes, and that's too much from De Vries, and it's going to really swing it to Pascal Stix. That is a huge swing towards the Core Sim Racing 34 car that now leads by 1.2 seconds with 2 laps to go.
Critically, it's not in that 1 second window. The draft is going to be not there for the 77 Sim RC car. And I might have butchered my grammar as I said that, but it's a critical one. This right there could be the biggest opening for Pascal Stix. The best part is he doesn't have to worry. He can drive the last couple of laps with a clear mind because the draft window has been broken. At the back though, his teammate cannot do the same. Marius Golombek will be attacked. Marius Golombek will be tried and pushed to the very limit by Marvin Strehl right there. This is going to be a critical one, and this is the error made by Luca De Vries, trying a bit too hard, and maybe this wasn't the right time, Lewis. Maybe they could have waited for one more lap and gone for that ultra big sin.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have. I mean, hindsight's 2020. You'd say I would have waited for that because it didn't work there. So, you know, there's like a really stupid point. But for me, I'm going to carry on that thought and say that it probably wasn't the right time. Ideally, you'd want to be doing it on the last kind of go into it, so you're covering off for future reference. But one more lap to go. But like you say, for Core now, this is almost going to be a fairly calm drive to the finish. You've built your gap. Now you just need to bring it home. Bring it all the way. Fiercely Forward, though, want a top 5. And at the moment, Michael Yanni will be trying to go for it around the outside, but that's not going to work. And potentially to the inside, running into Retafilio.
Actually, this could be Fiercely Forward's chance. Can you imagine the mighty BMW being challenged by the Porsche on the straight? Not one of them, that's 2 of them so far. Look at this one at the front as well. That's SimRC trying to go for a move on the core car as well. Again, it's one on the outside line. This time it's a P number 3 instead of the lead.
And it's the podium battle. This is on debut. Strehl around the outside of Marius Golombek and up into 3rd spot. But as well, we've got a little bit of contact there between Fiercely Forward and Volante. Fiercely Forward just about pulling ahead, but Volante is still there, are still in the gap as they run round Curva Grande. And Racefox as well in the mix. Krosny fancying his way through. There's contact again as Yanni tries to drop in behind, but no way to do so. Porsches versus BMWs. We've got side by side ahead. There's going to be contact as Golombek comes across the nose of Strehl, and somehow they all get through it alive. And a bit of a flash of the lights there from Strehl. Not happy with what Marius Golombek did, but Golombek for Core back onto the podium.
This is brilliant. I think they've timed it to perfection because this could be the last lap, couldn't it? I think this could be their final opportunity. And yeah, this is well done by Golombek, playing the psychology very smartly there.
And how good would it be for Core to have 2 cars on the podium? They certainly need it. They want to start taking points off of SimRC, specifically the 76 as well, just making sure they're under control, they're at bay. Confirmed final lap of the race here in race number 1, and coming down to the final corner now at the Parabolica. We'll keep our eye and see if there's going to be a move between Strehl and between Golombek. I think
to be one.
Might be a little bit too big of a gap. Out of the final corner though, Pascal Stix going to be running it down towards the line and will be taking victory here at Monza. Oscar Mangan, Pascal Stix, an absolute thriller here in the Italian sunshine. SimRC will be behind with Jamie Moon and Lucas De Vries, and once again a fantastic fight. Thomas Gibson and Marius Golombek across the line to grab the podium. Marvin Strehl and Jürgen Frank, look at how close that was across the line. line. I'd love to see the time gap on that. Look at how close it is. Volante with a top 5, fiercely forward, and Racefox. For Racefox, you've got to say, 7th position of their championship hopes. It's not looking pretty.
Yeah, they're being punched in the gut with that one, but I think that final lap that we saw right there, they just wanted to recreate the Olympics, it seemed like. Let's take a quick look at the replay. Who actually has got the edge? Just look at how much the draft makes a difference, right? Look at how much it can assist you right at the very end.
Oh, fuel? Oh, no, they'd already crossed the line, it's fine. I was like,
okay.
yeah, no, because the line's the first line.
Always get confused with that one.
It's fine. We'll take our deep breath. It was still 700th of a second, by the way, between Fiercely Forward and Racespot. So it's still plenty tight enough. And of course, you don't want to be crashing after the line. They'll be bringing it back to pit lane. But once again, what a race from everyone, to be perfectly honest. Let's show some respect to the entire field and the chances of what could have been. But our focus on the results themselves, as absolutely did Pascal Stix and Oscar Mangan take victory in the first race. Behind that, Lucas de Vries and Jamie Moon, a great drive from them, but a little bit of a mistake there in the final moments from Lucas de Vries, and the chance of a race win slipping out of the hands. A tight fight between Marius Gollenbeck and Marvin Strell for 3rd and 4th. A tight fight indeed. It came across the line, maybe a little bit more spread out than they'd want, but Gollenbeck with fantastic move down into De La Roger, grabbing 3rd. It was tight, but Fiercely Forward Asetek Simsports Volante do make a BMW inside the top 5 with Super Sub Ross Yost, but we've got plenty of Super Subs on the grid. Michael Yanni for Fiercely Forward in 6th spot, with Team Racefox behind that. The other Asetek Simsports Volante car a fair way off the back, and their final laps the race might have been a little bit dull and a little bit boring in comparison as they cruise to an 8th place finish. Kairos Competition and Alcatech NHR. Alcatech NHR making a decent amount of progress in the early stages of the race, but unfortunately the race not really for them. 11th spot on the grid would be the Maniti Racing White. Unfortunately not so great for their BMW outfit, despite qualifying looking a little bit of signs better. Maniti Racing Green had a retirement for an unknown reason. We didn't quite catch that one. And GSR by ACV, our pole sitters, with Hyman grabbing that pole position. Lesser Molman getting involved in a bit of an incident, a bit of side-by-side through Ascari, a bit of contact on the exit of it, and a bit of an incident, an issue into the barrier with the Alcatech NHR car that was driven by Matthew Crisp. And of course, you've got to get yourselves some donuts for winning. Pascal Stix, well-deserved donuts indeed.
Well-deserved indeed, and it all came down to psychology at the end, Lewis. Just timing your move to perfection. At the start, it was all just madness, all chaos, all trying to survive and trying to make the most bravado sort of move that they could possibly make out in the end. It was the psychology of Go, both their cars edging out SimRC by timing their moves to perfection and by forcing those errors.
Yeah, Volante would come through the middle, and like you said, it was all Porsches on the attack of the McLarens, and in the early stages, that McLaren was looking pretty good for only, realistically speaking, a couple of laps. Then Core started knocking at the door. The number 34, Oscar Mangan, got his way through, got his way up into the race lead, and GSR would start looking in their mirrors. They'd hold on valiantly for 2nd place, but once they started going through, they started all going through bit by bit. The side-by-side between Oscar Mangan holding on to the race lead, we were almost thinking at the time that this is it for Mangan. This is the time that he's going to pull away. And as much as it looks like repeats, these things just happened time and time again. It was fantastic racing between them side by side at all points, and this was the part where it all started falling apart for GSR bit by bit. Just again, dropping position after position. They just didn't have the pace, and once again we were wondering if we were going to see this not happen with the McLarens, but still their race pace, their combativity is just not really there.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, eventually it all came down to that right at the very end, and so eventually saw great battles in the midfield. And I wonder what happened with the Alcatech and HR car. There's so much potential in the early part. Maybe their second stint didn't quite work out too well. And that right there was the story of the entire race. The midfield eventually got a bit too close. We saw some big moves, and this was the one where things actually started to get a bit too nervy. Beyond this point, for German sim racing, it all just went downhill. But I've got to wonder, what happens in the second half of them?
Well, we'll have to wait and see for future reference, but the Volante cars getting their way through. The 27 was the one that made the most progress a bit later on in the race as they were getting fiery and feisty. We were maybe looking at the other Aztec Sim Sports Volante car, the 57, for a decent result. That one leading this entire train. And trains were the story of the day because, boy, did we see a lot of them. Side by side to Ascari, you'd put a question mark next to it and think, maybe not. But yet, we still give it a go because why not? And around the outside they would go. The 27 trying to make it stick side by side, a bit of contact, a bit of slow moving from GSR, and this was the moment it fell apart. Out of the corner, Matthew Crisp just coming across, trying to keep it nose. That was what happened to the 78 Maniti car as well, involved in that incident, and both of those cars, being Maniti and GSR, would retire from the race. RaceSpot, after a poor qualifying, would continue to march their way forward. Maniti with nowhere to go in that instant, just a bit of a shame. And GSR and Maniti, two teams that could have had a decent result. They could have done with a decent result around here, unfortunately not getting it.
Indeed, yeah, just a bit too much, that incident right there, going 3 wide at the exit of Ascari. And that critical curve that GSR hit right there slowed it down enough, and the judgment right there was a bit crazy. And as you rightly put it, Lewis, in that moment, I think all of them made the right decision. Just did not work out for them. But even after that, the bravado at the top was not over. We saw constant fighting, constant sense, constant reminders from both Core Sim Racing and SimRC that they are the ones with the greater brawn at this race right there. And SimRC tried and tried and tried and tried, and a couple of times even got ahead, but not in this case here, no.
Yeah, that mistake into the Rettifilio was just too much for Lucas de Vries to come back. It built a 1.2 second gap to Pascal Stix, and let's be honest, drivers of the quality of Pascal Stix, of Core Sim Racing, and of anyone on the grid, you give them a 1.2 second gap and they will grab it out of your hands. And for Core Sim Racing, victory today was very, very well earned indeed. Their third win as a contingent in the series versus SimRC's 4, so we're looking to equalise heading out of the first 4 rounds of the season. But we've passed halfway, very much so now. We are deeply into the second half of the season, Sommel, and I don't know where this championship's going. I've got good vibes about Core, but how could you have a thought?
Well, to be fair, what's happening right now is that Core Sim Racing have built up their gap for themselves. Had it not been for those disqualifications with SimRC, had it not been for the penalty that SimRC got in Barcelona, this would have been a lot closer, and we honestly would have had no idea. But I get this feeling, right? Core Sim Racing, both the 34 and the 35, they're just not slipping up anywhere. They've not made one major error, and if I'm not mistaken, they have not finished one race outside of the top 5 with either car. And that is why they're so far up ahead. That is why coming into this race, they had a 12-point gap to the 77 SimRC car and over 56 points to the 76 SimRC car. Both of them have constantly challenged both the Core cars, but it's just those minor discrepancies, here and there, that are giving Core the edge, and that's why they've got the ace up their sleeves. They don't have to risk it too much.
Well, that's it. You're absolutely right. They've built up enough of a gap through consistency alone where they've been able to just wait. They've been able to take the risk. They've been able, and around a circuit like this, and of course next week when we go racing at the Red Bull Ring, having that space just to say, do you know what? I don't need to go for the race win.
Yeah.
I just might. And that's the thing, is that is a very, very, very powerful mindset indeed, because you're not desperate. And that's the issue with some of the teams and such. When they go racing hard, they get desperate. And I don't know about you, I can't think of too many times in motorsport or sim racing where a championship has been won by someone driving a bit desperate.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Colton Herter, I think a week ago in IndyCar, he was driving a bit desperately. He needed that win at the Music City Grand Prix, and in that desperacy, he ended up making a very, well, on the surface, a very silly error. But it may not look silly. It may look silly when you're watching it from the outside, but when you're in tunnel vision, it's so easy to lose your concentration for just one small thing. You end up missing your braking marker, and where do you find yourself? In the wall, losing the race. And so it helps Cole. They don't have to go too aggressive. They don't have to go at 200%. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the best thing in the world, right? To know that you can do something, you don't need to have to. You just can, and that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of racing where you've had the pressure taken off of your shoulders and you're just cruising and such. But trust me, even in this kind of stuff, even when you feel like you've got the control, it switches so fast because they're all racing drivers at the end of the day. They all want to win. And as much as they'll sit there and think, I don't need to win the race. I can just sit here and cruise, man. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. I can win this race. And then they go on the attack and they can't help it. You just get lulled into it. A little bit of contact. You now got the red mist. Now you're a pilot. Now you've had a crash. You've lost 20 points. Boom.
But I think that's the difference between Core Sim Racing and all the other drivers so far this year, hasn't it? It's just been how smart they've been mentally in all the places, knowing when to attack, knowing when to pick their fights in essence, and knowing what to do at the right situation. I mean, that last move right there by Pascal Sticks that we saw towards the very end, done with around 2.5 minutes to go, and that's spot on. You've only got a couple of laps here and there. It's a good time to go and make your move right there, and they did it quite well. And so it's those things here and there that are giving Core the edge. Remember, in this case, we had two battles split up, one for P1 and one for P3, and both of them were won by two Core cars, and both of them won in two similar fashions. They forced the error out of SimRC, and they were the ones who capitalized on it and got the win at the very end. So it's that minor element. When your driving speed isn't the difference, when your strategy isn't the difference, it's just how you eke them out in these minor psychological elements that has actually put Core right up there. And that's a bit of a crash.
Yeah, Oscar Mangan behind the wheel, having a bit of an incident, of course. Well, we're heading into second qualifying, so obviously those drivers that started race 1 will be qualifying and will be finishing race 2 as well. So we're going to see the switch around as we always do in both of the Virtual Racing Schools Sports Car Open Sprint Series, and both Sprint Challenge and Sprint Masters. Obviously, a reminder that tomorrow we'll see Sprint Masters out. We'll see the big guns in GT3s taking it on and battling out. I'm sure we're going to see plenty of battles inter-team between the Core Sim Racing bunch as well as everyone else that can get involved. And I'm sure we'll be looking into some fantastic racing around Monza. Same track, a bit earlier in the day, mind. Obviously, head over to RaceSpotTV on YouTube, which I'm sure you're watching it on right now, and go and look for the times that it starts. Of course, we'll be racing same format as well. So 2 races, 2 qualifying sessions, 2 drivers, and switching it about across the day. And I'm sure we'll get some more fantastic racing because GT3s, GT4s, as we've had anything, Monza, great racing always.
Yeah, great if you know how to make it great. Let's put it
great.
That
Yeah. If you go 4 wide down into turn 1, you cause a crash from one of the race leading positions. It causes a bit of strife, shall we say?
I mean, that's exactly spot on, right? The reason why we love Monza in competitive iRacing leagues is because we have drivers who can make Monza work. You ask anyone who plays, say, the F1 games, or anyone who plays any other simulator where you've got casual online racing. Normally we don't get it at iRacing, but still. Turn 1, they hate it. They hate Monza. I hate Monza when I'm racing myself because I know for a fact that somebody, even though 98% of all the drivers will get it correctly, someone will miss the marker at turn number 1. Someone will crash and it'll ruin the race for everybody. Monza is great if you can make it great. And these drivers right here have made Monza great in the very first race. This one right now, it's going to be a bit of a tricky one. Will the drivers calm down, Lewis? That's going to be a fun part. And as we mentioned earlier on, some teams have the edge. Some teams don't have to take it a bit too hard. Case in point, Core Sim Racing. But what about RaceFox? They could have the red mist on their mind right now.
Yeah, it only takes one dude named Bill trying to do his greatest Lietzi impression down into T1 to cause just the most insane amount of chaos and carnage. By the way, I wasn't 100% sure if we were going to get GSR back in this race because they did both leave the previous session, but they hadn't joined this one until now. They are in, so fingers crossed we will see. It'll be Lessa Molman's time to do qualifying, and so as the second qualifying session begins, 20 minutes are put back on the clock, plenty of time to get out there and do your laps. What's your strategy here, Stommer? We've seen it work in Q1, getting into the way it worked for Core, but I don't know about you. I'm going to just get straight out there. I just want to get my laps on the board, at least my bankers.
Yeah, you've got to, but sometimes with these cars, the best lap comes in a lap or two later on. So, got to warm everything up, got to get the car ready, and then go for a proper send right there. And Core, they don't seem to be interested in changing their strategy any which way whatsoever. They're still going to be going out there and doing what worked for them. And coming back to GSR, right? GSR are in this interesting situation. When they're in the back, they can make their quali lap time work so well. We saw that happen the last time out. I think we saw GSR taking pole in Barcelona as well. It's just a funny situation. Whenever they're at the head of the field, they just end up, I don't know, crumbling under the pressure of being surrounded by so many cars. And you wouldn't say, well, deliberately qualify back at last, so you see all the action unfolding and then you carve your way up. But honestly, it seems like that is what they need right now. They just can't, for the life of them, make it work properly in the mid-pack for some reason.
Also, I've been commentating a few times with someone who used to sim racing himself, Robert Wiesemuller, who runs a series elsewhere in sim racing and to a very high level indeed, and a great series admin to have, and someone to commentate with and broadcast with. And we were commentating on various touring car stuff and watching bits of the esports WTCR Championship as well as the sim racing series and such. And, you know, open qualifying, similar sort of sense, open qualifying, 20 minutes. And he was like, always baffles me how everyone opens the session. It's like a race. Everyone's just like, I'm going to run down into turn one with everyone else at the same time. We're all going to lose time together. And it's like, why? Just find your own little bit of space, maybe a little bit of slipstream, like what Core are doing. They're just keeping well out of the mix.
And it's a bad idea to be the one going out first, right, at Monza. You're just basically creating a train for everyone else, unless you're doing something like Maniti, unless you have a teammate working around who you know will give you that position back in. But for all the other cars, doesn't make sense to go out there right at the top and just punch a hole for everyone else. Why do you want to be so generous? You're just the one losing out all the time. They're not going to pay you back, no chance. So work on yourself, try and maybe find that little box of space and try and do something like that. But I'm very intrigued. SimRC are not fazed by this. SimRC have not come under the pressure and they don't want to copy what Core did in the first time up. They have found their method and they're going to make it work. It's nice. You have to work. You have to stick to your plan, right? You can't just make last-minute decisions at times by just being fazed by what someone else has done early on.
Yeah, look at this as we're riding on board with Jürgen Frank. We've got the Maniti Racing 78 hopping out of the way, down into Lesmo 1 and into Lesmo 2. This is good from Jürgen Frank to be in the slipstream again. Maybe a little bit too far back from Matthew Crisp. There's Lesmo 2 up and over the curb. It's normally seeing them take a little bit less curb at Lesmo 2, but they're hooking it in quite nicely and abusing it a bit. I'd say potentially a little bit too far off the rear end of the set of Crisp, and there's just a bit too much of a gap, but still getting the faint wisps of slipstream in the 76 and not being held up by the Maniti Racing white car ahead. Huge amount of curb at Ascari over that first one, and over the second, over the third massively, and then onto that run off the slip road, which is used for the Monza school, where it comes in from that side and brings the young talents around as a more of a club circuit. Maniti Racing white backing out and dropping into line here, potentially going to delay Jürgen Frank a little bit, but maybe might just give him a bit more slipstream onto the run towards the line through Parabolica, being sure not to run out onto the left hand side that bit too far, because once you're out there, once you dip two wheels, it just pulls you over and keeps pulling as you try and accelerate your way towards the line. For Jürgen Frank though, it is enough at present. A 57.569 pulls him a few hundredths clear of Team RaceFox. We'd expect the session to potentially be a little bit faster. I think it's slightly cooler in this one at present. Look at how close it is between Fiercely Forward and Team RaceFox. Alcatech and HR hopping out of the way. Corsim Racing putting their times on the border, once again being very close. Look at that gap, Sommel, between first and fourth, 300ths of a second.
Now that is Monza at its finest. Proper draft fest right here, and this feels like an old race. There's barely anything splitting them up right here, and I wonder, this is just the first run, Lewis. This could get even closer, who knows, maybe when it comes up later on.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure myself as to what to expect in this one. The lap times in the previous one, of course, we saw pole position. I think it was a little bit warmer, but it was a 57.480. So we're already in the same kind of region as that. Like I said, the expectation though is that this session is potentially going to get a little bit faster. Sorry, it was a 58. What was it in qualifying? Actually, I can get my times all mixed up here. 57.289. That's better. That's more like it. That's what I was expecting. 57.289 the pole position in the previous session.
Drivers switched up, of course. The other ones, the second drivers who didn't qualify, are going to be the ones doing it right here. And this adds something very interesting to the mix. Now, one wonders, this forces everyone to be good in qualifying in a way. You can't run and hide. You can't have one dedicated qualifying driver who will just go out there and put the fast laps for you. And this is the fun part. Some teams have actually responded badly to having this situation where both the drivers have to qualify, but others, some teams like Core, some teams like SimRC, some teams like Fiercely Forward, well, they haven't quite been hit that badly. The RS team slightly, but not all the other ones. So this is interesting. And in this situation, right, German sim racing have still gone out there and still all the time put in some good laps, but seemingly not here so far. Well, where are they? Not nowhere. They haven't even started.
Not to set a time. They've been out in the session, has Marvin Lesser-Moldman, but only for a single lap. Christopher Hyman is also in the session, so there's no panic about that. There is both of them there. They are just yet to set a lap time. Marvin Lesser-Moldman not getting out there. Maybe they might accept to start from 13th to control themselves, maybe not letting their tyres get a little bit. There is a view on the 68, the pole sitting car in the previous race, not setting a time in this session at present and just holding fire in the pit lane at the moment. Still plenty of time should they change their mind and get back out onto the racetrack, although sometimes starting from the back and having a little bit of fun may not necessarily be the worst call, but that clearly wasn't their call because they are rolling in pit lane and everyone else, they were waiting for the slipstream.
All sitting without the pole. It could all change though. It really could. German sim racing, you can never count them out. And you can never see them anywhere away from the front couple of rows of the grid. They're always there. And they've got this immaculate ability to put out this one great lap time. And just maintaining it all the way through has been their kryptonite in a way. But let's see. I think with more track time, as you get more experience in a situation similar to having a very chaotic opening couple of laps to what we saw in the first race, maybe you could just get better with that. And we've seen them struggle in all the races so far. Who knows, maybe this could be the one. And maybe just staying right there and being a bit more sane in the first couple of laps. But I think it's more than just that. I think the McLaren's pace drop-off is also one thing that's not helping them out here.
Yeah, indeed, their tyres do just seem to dissipate. I think, by the way, this might be a pit lane entry, although Gibson still looking pretty fast on the times. I think Gibson might stay out and potentially Oscar Mangan might head the way of pit road, but let's take a look. They are both coming down in. Did kind of wonder if they were both darting their way of pit lane. Didn't seem particularly quick there, so yeah, just departing from it. And you know, this is the calm point of the session. This is that midpoint where everyone's breathing, everyone's taking a look around. No one set a lap time that's amazing. No one set a lap time that's awe-inspiring, and pole position is still wide open.
100% is. It's just, I mean, it's a funny way to say this. It's just whoever who wants it most, who can time it properly, who can just stay in that right spot at the slipstream where you can just get it to perfection. So far, it seems to be SimRC, but SimRC normally haven't quite been the best qualifiers, let's put it that way. I think they haven't even got a single pole position yet, but just their ability to carve their way up the grid. And they've got drivers who are naturally very good in terms of making overtakes. Jürgen Frank is the first one that comes to mind, and my word, at Zolder, did he time it to perfection. It was just that wiseness of when to make a move, and that comes in from him, of course, being a very good TCR driver, where your ability to time your moves to perfection is critical. We saw that happening at Zolder. I don't know if qualifying is the main strength or not, but really the race is where they can make it work. But I think the first time in the last one was we saw them slightly outsmarted by Core in a way.
But this is the thing, it's I don't really know, like, yes, it was outsmarted. What I'm kind of trying to say is that it feels unfair to to say unsmarted. Oh, they outsmarted or whatever. They were outplayed. Or it's so hard because it's so easy to be outplayed around here. It's one of those tracks where you have people like Dale Earnhardt and all that who do very, very well. Did very, very well on the super speedway, same as Earnhardt Jr. and whatever. And they almost like they had that vision, like they could see the air, right? It's really hard to sort of explain, but it's like they knew exactly where to be to block runs and to do what they're doing. They knew what they had to fight, what they had to do, and in that, where they gained a load of their respect by understanding everything about that style of racing. And around Monza, it's almost in that same kind of vein. It's that different level of characteristic where you need to understand everything about the racetrack and how slipstream works and how to cover off, when to cover off, and most importantly, who you're racing. Because you've got to sit there and think, is that the kind of driver that's going to do a stupid move down into Ascari? Do I need to cover it off, or do I want a better run out of Ascari? And it's all about playing those cards, and that is why being outfoxed around here is almost like, oof, I'm not so sure. Sorry, am I reading that right? Alcantech NHR in 3rd spot. What That's an incredible lap.
The McLaren, well, they're just making it work. They finally turned it on, and they're doing it well. I was always wondering, where is that one big qualifying lap from Alcantech NHR? We've always seen their McLaren have some great pace in the race, but the qualifying has never quite been there. There they are at last. This is nice. This is one way to restart the season once again from Alcantech NHR. And their second stint in the first race wasn't that great, but what does it matter? They can just make it work out quite well right now with the right momentum. And Monza, it's a place where passing is slightly easy, but sometimes you can make your car very wide and block things off right here.
It's maybe no disrespect to the teammates, but Matthew Crisp is obviously a very decent and well-skilled driver in these GT4s and seeming to match them quite well. And maybe it's the setups, team, whatever, just not really being able to match Matthew Crisp, but just being able to get within the rough sort of ballpark of being able to sort of contend. It's kind of one of those things. Of course, I'm not trying to disrespect the team at all, because we know they're all quality drivers, but even if you're a couple of tenths slower, that's quite a significant difference at these kind of levels. Probably won't, those kind of differences, they're probably not going to cost you from winning a championship or from winning this or from winning that, but they do make a difference. They do build up. I mean, 2 tenths over an entire race or race stint, over an entire half-hour period is still a good few seconds over that time. I think it's probably about 3 seconds actually around there. It's easy maths, but maybe just slightly over. That's quite a bit of time to drop. But again, that's from such a small gap. That's just how competitive it is.
Yep. And that was somewhere around exactly how much time they ended up losing in that second stint. Thereabouts, more or less. So that is the interesting part with them, right? It accumulates, it compounds over those lap times, and that's why it matters to be so consistent. It's not worth it to be the fastest driver over one lap and then eventually end up losing all that time with a major mistake on the second or the third lap. It's on how quickly can you wrap up your stint, and that is eventually the one that matters the most here.
Yeah, like you say, it's. I mean, it is that endurance sort of spirit that I think, unfortunately, I'm aware of. You're only as fast as your slowest driver. Sorry, to all the people that I've been teamed up with. You're only as fast as your slowest driver. So if there's only 2 of you, it's an aggregate of your times. You're only as fast as your teammate, and your teammate is only as fast as you. And that's what you sign up for. That's the series that you're a part of, and you know that going in. And so you've got a choice. You either go in there trying to contend for the championship and pushing to the very limit and picking a driver that works perfectly for you, or you come in and just think, you know what, we're not here for race wins. We're not here for whatever. We're here for a bit of fun with friends. We're here to enjoy it. We're here to battle. We're here to try and contend, but we're here for a bit of enjoyment as a team spirit.
Well, how underrated is fun, to be honest.
Right.
we often end up competing in all the leagues. We often end up focusing so much on being the best team, working on those 1% things like your bid entries, working on your setup so hard that we often just end up forgetting to have fun. And sometimes fun is just fun in a way. And Monza lets you do that. Monza lets you go side by side. And yeah, you might be wondering, well, I wish I could have been half a tenth faster on the exit of the Parabolica so that I would have had a better run right there. But you have fun going side by side. That's what matters, right? That's what you're here for eventually. If you're not having fun, why even bother racing?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when it comes to fun, I think we do forget about fun a lot in sim racing. We were talking about this prior to coming on air at the start of the evening of actually driving for fun. And yeah, I'll say myself, as Gibson's had an issue at Parabolica, will probably come into pit lane for core. You know, I've been sim racing for as a driver for 8 years. On and off. It's been a very, very long time. Of course, we're sat here with Hugo, Luis, but we'll ignore that. We've all raced. Quite a lot of us have raced for a very, very long period of time. And most people that have raced to any sort of competitive level, I don't mean world championship level, I mean any competitive level. If it's competitive for you, it's competitive. You know exactly what I'm talking about in this sense. Is that if you're taking part in multiple series, you'll come across burnout. And I don't mean the game, great game by the way, but you will burn yourself out. You will think, God, I can't race anymore, because you stop falling in love with it. And it's that adrenaline, that love of the racing that people forget. And the way to combat it, ignore the positions, ignore the competition, just race, just have fun. Just do it with your friends and just enjoy yourself. Racing something a bit odd. The most entertaining racing that I've done in the last couple of years was in the Stadium Super Truck, because it's just fun. It's just a bit of banter to race in.
Exactly. That's the whole essence of it, right, eventually. And when you compete, you're putting so much on the line. You're putting your happiness based on your results, and that's never going to work out properly, right? It's all about the process. It's all about how you work out, and things might not work out. Sometimes there might be a little bit of bad luck here and there. Why does it matter? You're here to have fun. You're here to eventually be here to enjoy, and some teams enjoy it a little bit more than the others, and that's why I love Monza, right? It may be not the most fun time to drive on your own, but you always are guaranteed a good race as long as you can just stay within around a second or something like that.
What's the best track on the planet, Samuel? Me and Arjuna, we did not agree on this one.
Come on, it's not cause an Nordschleifer.
Yeah, okay, no, I'm in trouble. Okay, that's fine. I like the Nordschleifer. It's not the greatest track in the world.
But, say but.
Bathurst. Love me some Bathurst.
It's too hard for me, so I don't like it.
I love the feeling of getting close to walls and risking. It's why I did the 12-hour earlier in the year on iRacing, and we had an absolute blast over the 12 hours. I have not enjoyed an endurance race quite like that. I love throwing it over the top. It's terrifying, but it's just great. I mean, everyone, I've had this from people before, same as yourself. They're saying that Bathurst is too hard. I don't get that. If you're saying that Nordschleife is the greatest track, I can't do Nordschleife. I cannot do it to save my life. Not for love, not for money, not for anything. I think Nordschleife is much harder than Bathurst, at least to me. It's just experience, but I don't know. I think it's much, much harder. I respect the Nordschleife. I love the Nordschleife, but there's just something about Bathurst being a racetrack that it gets me every single time.
Bathurst is amazing. I mean, in terms of racing, I think it just slightly edges out the Nordschleife because of the greater number of straights that it has right there.
But it's a smaller lap, yeah.
It's a smaller lap, yes, indeed. But one thing about it, Bathurst, really, you've got to be good to make it work. You can't enjoy it if you're constantly hitting the walls, right? And there's this one section at the top of the hill we've got to brake and turn at the same time. I, for the life of me, can't do it. If I would have enjoyed it a little bit more than Nordschleife. At least you can take it slow and still enjoy the flow of the Nordschleife a little bit more, because the walls are... you can still avoid them by going slow. At Bathurst, you don't like to go slow to that section. It's a weird way to put it.
They're all very, very difficult indeed. By the way, we're in the final moments of the session, and whilst we are heading over to the Nürburgring this season, not to the Nordschleife, we're doing the sprint stretcher. We certainly aren't departing Europe and heading our way to Bathurst, which is a shame because I'd love to see that. but we are focused on a European contingent across the calendar. It is Oscar Mangan, 7th position. It is the final laps beginning, and it is Jamie Moon on pole position with a slower time than in session 1, which I'm actually surprised with. I think it's a little bit cooler out there, but clearly grip levels just not quite there. Matthew Crisp up in 3rd spot. Fantastic qualifying for Alcantech NHR. Bit of a disappointment for German sim racing. .de just 10th spot at the moment after pole position in the previous race.
Yeah, exactly, but I think it might just be a blessing in disguise, Lewis. Maybe it just works out for them for this time to start on the midfield and maybe just not be at the top, because every time they have, unfortunately, it has just not worked out for them. So maybe stick behind, watch the action unfold, and maybe capitalize on that. Who knows?
A bit of an improvement, by the way. Michael Diaz up into 8th spot just there, and look at the gaps, by the way. They are tiny margins. Half a tenth, then it's a tenth, a tenth and a half, tenth and an eighth, 2 tenths. It's so tight, around a 2-minute lap. Incredibly tight for pole position, and you can always find a couple of tenths on your lap. What does Jürgen Frank do across the line? He's going to come straight into pit lane. The Kairos car is going to get itself off of the rear position on the field and drop that one back the way of Maniti Racing White. Matthias Berg, who's currently on screen, I believe has finished the session, and the improvement on the final lap not really there. The session completed. And for RaceFox, we were almost scratching them out a little bit after that race. I put it a wavy line through their name when it comes to championship contention. They're on the 2nd row of the grid, but it is SimRC and Jamie Moon on pole position ahead of Team RaceFox Racing. Alcantech NHR, Forstdike's going to be starting the race on a fantastic qualifying session from Matthew Crisp, and Core Sim Racing's 35 will be starting from 4th. Thomas Gibson doing the qualifying there will hand the reins over to his teammate Marius Gollenbeck. Jürgen Frank in the 76th, 5th spot for them, with Isaac Jean in the fiercely forward car in 6th position. Behind them you've got Oscar Mangan, not a great qualifying session from the number 34 Core Sim Racing car, just 7th. Ross Yost, after a fantastic end to the previous race, will be starting this one for Aztec Sim Sports Volante. Then the other Aztec Sim Sports Volante, another BMW from 9th position with Maniti Racing Green, the 78, hoping to go a little bit better in this race. They were involved in a crash with GSR by ACV out of Ascari in the previous race, and going from 10th and 11th. Both of those teams want to do better here. Kairos competition starting from 12th place after that late qualifying session improvement. Maniti Racing White, unfortunately, back to a position we're a bit familiar with them at last, but just 1.1 seconds off of the pole. Now that is still, again, I'm going to give them a bit of a pat on the back. That is a solid improvement. Where we were talking at Barcelona, yes, more corners, whatever, but it was, I think it's about 2 seconds off of pole position. They've cut that in half to 1.1 over a 2-minute lap. They're in a good spot here, and Slipstream will do them favours.
Really will be. This could be one of their best chances of the season. This one, along with the Red Bull Ring coming out the next time out as well. They're getting better, and that is exactly what we want to see from them. But right now, it's going to be a lot about when you time your moves and how you get that done right there. Last might not be a bad position after all, because we are looking at Monza turn number 1, and we know what can happen at Monza turn number 1, don't we?
We certainly do, and you know exactly what time it is, Somil. It's guesswork time. What's happening in this race?
I think they must be taking this time out. I think they have had enough of this one. And Core, they're slightly behind, and you always expect Core to come back, right? They will be right there near the top in a couple of laps, but I think Simasi hold it out this time. What about you?
I want it to be Team RaceFox. I want it to be Alcantech NHR. But I can't look past a Core Simasi. They were so strong in the previous race. To be honest, I think some teams like Volante might throw something a bit odd into the mix. They still may be up there for a podium battle, but I'm just going to go for it. I think we're going to get 4 apiece. I think Core Sim Racing, I think the 35 is going to... Actually, no, the 34. I think the 34. They're going to rise to the order from 7th spot. So odd gamble, but we're going to go for it. I think the 34 is going to rise up the order, and I think we could be looking at a potential race victory for Course Racing. Pascal sticks, though, with all the work to do from 7th spot, if my prediction is to come correct. It is SimRC, though, the 77, Lucas de Vries on pole position ahead of Kevin Crosney. It'll be hard fighting down into turn 1, I am absolutely sure. You've got Alcantech, James Forsdyke on the second row of the grid with Marius Gollenbeck in the number 35. Green flag is in the air and we'll be underway for the second race here at Monza. Is a good launch from SimRC on that run down into turn 1, already poking out fiercely forward on the attack. Going to make it 3 wide. Alcantech NHR on the right hand side of your screen. You've got the Volante car in the middle. A bit of a lift there from Marius Gollenbeck before they got onto the brakes, and there was near contact with the BMW directly behind. It's going to be SimRC leading their way through the first chicane. A bit of contact from Fiercely Forward, and goodbye Fiercely Forward as they go for a spin. Just lifted that front right up with contact between themselves and whoever it was at turn 1, and just a little bit of a spin.
What more can they do except for kick some cones off in frustration? Tell you what though, Core can do a lot, Racefox can do a lot. They still find themselves in P number 2, but look at this. Every single time Core Sim Racing always just get past closer and just make sure that the competition always exists. Academic HR though, their start has been a bit bittersweet, hot and cold somewhere through.
Look at that dive from one of the Volante cars. That is absolutely superb, as properly sending it through, trying to get past the Alcantech NHR car that has said see ya to the front of the pack. And unfortunately for Forsdyke, it is not going well. The Kairos car also going to come through here, as well as the number 76 SimRC machine. I think there might be a couple of moves as McLaren is in a one-way trip, unfortunately, towards the back. It's just how it goes. Sometimes getting back into the rhythm is so hard when you're being attacked left, right and centre. That is a sensational move, though, by the Kairos Racing car. And now coming through SimRC, another brilliant one. German simracing.de will also be coming through and potentially making that one stick as we ride on board with Maniti Racing Green in the 78 car and the Maniti Racing White. That is a tragic feeling, being absolutely freight trained from 3rd position, but again, chin up, back in slipstream and refocus on the race itself. Where has Crosney gone? Down at Parabolica. Goodbye, see ya, and good night. They are way down the road.
I don't know about London Bridge, but Racefox are certainly falling back down big time. And that has to be a driver error, something of that sort. There's no other way you can go out there at the Parabolica so wide. And hey, this is a bit crazy. Volante right up there. They have got past the second Core car. That BMW really, Lewis, can just bully its way past everyone else, and they might just hold on to this for another one, because right now the straight line speed helps them out big time. Oh no, not a driver error.
It was from Gollenbeck as well. Contact on the rear end. Sad for Crosney. We'll try and just again pick it back up again and get back on with it, but that explains how the Aztec SimSports Volante Racing blue car that finished inside the top 5 in the previous race has got up into 2nd position. We ride on board with Marius Gollenbeck early on the brakes. A light tag, but a tag nonetheless. And Gollenbeck, yeah, I'm sure he'll be under a little bit of flack for that one. Well, Gollenbeck, but right now on the rear end of Volante, again, you've got to get that out of your mind and focus on the race ahead, because SimRC, Lucas de Vries pulling away right now, and Marius Gollenbeck is fancying to get by Yost on that run into Ascari. But that BMW is looking mighty fine right now. It started in 8th position. It is already up into 2nd in this race and 1.5 seconds off of the race lead. With a straight line speed, this is where the BMW comes into a world of its own. Now, if you're Marius Gollenbeck, again, to say it, I wouldn't attack right now. I'd just let him get his good line through Parabolica and let them slipstream their way down into turn 1. But no, they are going to fight it. Gollenbeck is going to pick around the outside. He's going to try and make something stick on Volante, but not now.
Yeah, exactly. Volante, well, how can they? How can the Porsches counter the BMW on straight line speed right now? Even with working together, they'll need something special on the brakes to actually make sure that they get past Ross. And Ross Yost, by the way, his nickname is Ross the Boss on social media, and he's certainly bossing his way around. That is some comeback. And the second Volante car, actually, fastest on the track.
Sensational. I mean, that's the kind of expectation of the pace from the BMWs. Is there we go, a little bit of contact and Gollenbeck's through now, pushing in Ross the Boss off at turn through Rettifilio, and still it's going to be the BMW ahead. That's just the grunt. And Volante, right apart of this, you were saying about the fastest lap of the race in the previous rotation of the circuit. Welcome to the fight for the podium, Volante. I'm sure Carsten van Eyck and Carter McColeman will be watching this thinking, what are we watching right now? Are we watching our team battle for a podium? I mean, they know exactly the quality of driver that they've got within Volante. It is a sensational team that's moving forward, building themselves up bit by bit in sim racing. They are across the board of sim racing. You will not find them outside, not taking part rather, in many simulators. I've seen them in iRacing, I've seen them in R-Factor 2, I've seen them in basically anywhere in sim racing. They love to pop up and they've got speed everywhere.
Exactly. Very, very likable team, Volante, and they're trying to push hard with this one as well. Not just one car, finally getting two cars right up there in the midst of this big battle going on. The 57 genuinely didn't have a very good race in that first one, but momentum is on their side. Nilan Bokora is just getting out there and putting in some stonkers of lap times. And can you ever imagine, Lewis, coming into this round, Volante versus SCO for some of the top positions? I honestly didn't think about it, and this right here could be very, very special. This is just going to be such a Herculean effort from Cole, though. Just getting past the BMW.
Oh, no! Oh, he spun him out. Oh, Marius got him back in the other Volante in the mix. That is the commentator's curse, if ever I heard it, Sommel. Oh, that is such a shame for Volante. My heart goes out to them. That was undeserved, and unfortunately just being spun out. I was about to bring up the point of how hard do you fight with core, and there we go. Golombek just straight into the rear corner. Damage on both of the BMWs. The other core car did come through in that, by the way. Pascal Sticks darting his way through. Volante didn't deserve that.
Genuinely didn't, and unfortunately that's two in a row for Golombek. That's two crashes that he's been involved in. And RaceFox are down there. RaceFox are also trying to make a comeback drive, but what do they do about that now? This is just not working out in their favor. But the teammates, the 34 car, Lewis, they're still right there. Still up in second place. This is just helping them out so much. The main competitors are being taken out one by one.
And you can tell there's a lot of damage on the Volante car there, of course. The GT4s with the newer damage model in iRacing, which, by the way, looks fantastic, I've got to say. Do love seeing parts flying off the cars and such. Absolutely looks the part. What we're seeing, you can see there for the Volante car. It has seen better days. Can we just give, again, you know, I know I've brought them up a few times, but again, plaudits to Maniti Racing White. They're up. They are climbing up the order. They're in 7th spot now, right behind Maniti Racing Green. Yes, it's been a carnage-filled race so far, but they are looking a part of the action. We're right on board with Marius Golombek to see this one. So goes for the over-under, goes for the drive-through, and I'll be honest here, he just drives straight into him. For me.
On right, do it again. Hindsight.
Hindsight's 2020. Yeah, you're racing hard. It is what it is.
Exactly.
Oh, and I've just seen the Volante car make a bit of contact with core as well behind this. That's not pretty, and that one was Marius Golombek. That is just behind all of this battling coming together again. This one definitely not being Marius Golombek's fault. Down into the Parabolica, so from bad to worse, and this really is not a pretty sight for something. This is not as good as the first race that we had round here, where we saw excellent battling. It's high drama. It's just kind of not what we would have expected or wanted. Alcatec and HR fighting his way back. Forsdyke trying to make a move on Fiercely Forward, but Fiercely Forward holding them at bay, and now RaceFox on the mix.
This is just turning out to be madness. Well, in a way, if you've got to look at the bright side of it, we're getting to see two types of drama, right? So, what's happened to Bokora right here?
Oh, naughty. That's naughty.
What?
I'm not sure if that's what I thought it was, so I'll refrain from commenting too hard.
And that's either a technical failure or some really big egos at play in a way. Who knows? Either.
Yeah, I'm not. It did seem like there was a bit of waiting. I'm not going to say it was intentional or anything like that, because that's unfair, because we don't know, and so we're just going to avoid the conversation on that one. I think, Sommel, otherwise we might get into trouble.
Yeah.
just say it didn't look great, and we'll focus on what we currently have on screen, which is Maniti Racing doing really well, 6th and 7th, but fiercely forward on the comeback charge, as is Team RaceFox as well. 10th place for them, 10 seconds off of the race lead, which, by the way, is coming down. Sim Racing in that 34 are closing the gap bit by bit.
They indeed are, and that's the thing that Sim Racing just gets to do every single time. They're so good at that, lapping in constantly just chipping away. Alkitek and HR fighting in the background right there with Team RaceFox as well. And Team RaceFox, man, they've had the rough edge on everything. Got taken out by Sim Racing, now in a big fight with Alkitek, and both these teams have lost out big time. What would be their mental state of mind? Everyone wants to get on the aggressive right here. It's the case where you see the red mist and you're more likely to crash. They better calm down right here, I hope. I don't want to see anyone crashing out again in this one.
Yeah, we want to see them return to the standard that we were set in race 1, because it was a fantastic standard. Alkitek and HR fighting it hard here with Kevin Krosny. Forsdyke doing a brilliant job just to hold the Porsche at bay. That might have a little bit of damage on the rear end, that might be down a little bit on the punchy straight line speed, but either way, we'll fight as hard as he can. Regardless, you can see it actually looks all right. There's the rear end of the RaceFox car, but that might be just me complimenting their livery once again, because I do really like the RaceFox. Once again, it's the typeface is the same as RaceSpot, so we're not biased. Yeah, unfortunately, the last couple of rounds have not been their way, despite qualifying on the front row of the grid. It really isn't great here. Fiercely forward, looking to the inside of the Maniti Racing white BMW as well, running through Lesmo 1, and the BMW going to hold firm around the outside and potentially going to hang on to the position of 7th, but we know that Fiercely Forward are charging. I did say earlier they were on a bit of a comeback story, a bit of a mission here to try and work their way up. Dropped down the order to 8th, started 6th, but now trying to gain a little bit more.
Well, I don't know. It's been so absurd with this 54-53, right? You always see them in a fight. They never just back down from it. But somehow the big results haven't quite been there, which is a bit strange, because they're able to go toe-to-toe at times with the likes of SimRC as well. I think we saw them had a couple of fights with them earlier on this season. So it's just, I don't know what's happening with them, but they've always been super entertaining, and they're fighting Maniti right now. And fair play to Maniti, by the way. They've taken full advantage of everything that's happened around them. There they are in a very respectable position so far.
Yeah, can we just also bring up one thing, that somehow Pascal Stix has closed down on Lucas de Vries.
Crikey.
Already, there we go. That's why. Already under a second, already back for it. Here comes Maniti Racing White on their teammates to grab 6th position. What a turnaround of form this is from Maniti Racing White up inside the top 6. I don't care if the BMW matches well to this track in race conditions. That is a superb performance as Forsdyke and Krosny once again battling it out.
Well, they just love to touch each other, don't they? This is just turning out to be mighty fun. And who would have thought Alkitek and HR, who normally haven't quite been right there near the top of the field, are fighting a genuine championship contender, and they're keeping them back all the time. Maybe RaceFox aren't quite in it as much as we thought. Maybe it's just taking the wind out of their sails in a way.
A little bit on the cut back there from the 53, a little bit of a slowdown. Is that potentially from the 78? I don't think it is. Just more going for the defensive line and covering off into Lesmo 1. Potentially need to cover off into Lesmo 2. We'll sit in the middle of the road to make Yanni go the long way around, and that's exactly what's happening here. Maniti Racing Green, Liam Lynch behind the wheel at the moment. Exactly what he needs to do, and just holding the car in the right spot, allowing his teammate to run away, and the Alkitek and HR car and all the Team RaceFox are closing in on this power, so you might as well help your teammate out, do a good solid running through Ascari, by the way, at the moment, is where they're going. But ahead of this, Sim Racing, Pascal Stix, I've just got to talk about it again a little bit. The gap is coming down, and now the slipstream is in full effect.
I mean, Pascal Stix is just chipping away all the time. You just can't have a quiet moment with Pascal Stix around, right? You know that he will take the fight to you, and he is doing that. Look at this. So here's another one. SimRC 77, the most genuine competitors to the 34 in the championship, apart from the Sim Racing teammate of the 35 now. This is going to be a big one. This right here could swing the championship big time in favor of the 77 if they can hold it on here. Big
Big if though, as GSR are going to fight out and grab a podium spot at present. They've taken it off of SimRC, the number 76, as finally round the outside at Rettifilio. Yanni has got through McNinch at the moment. Still no move able for Krosny on Forsdyke. Forsdyke doing a valiant effort at present to hang on from Team Racefox as they run through Curva Grande. The 78 still not able to make a move, but just waiting, has been passed, but wants to re-pass into the De La Roche chicane. Will leave it to the inside, might be a little bit too deep here. Got to watch out for a slowdown penalty, but Yanni seems to judge that to perfection. Is this Racefox's best chance? Krosny to the inside. The McLaren will try and send it around the outside of Lesmo 1. Going to be a full send from the McLaren. And I think on that drive out of the corner, it's going to work.
Yeah, and they've done it. They just cannot stay ahead, Racefox. This is just turning out to be the championship battle unraveling in front of their eyes, Lewis. This is just not working out for them. The last 2 rounds have been, well, by the championship standards, a bit abysmal for them. And how can they actually turn it back on in their favour?
This is where you need either one of 2 things. You need competitive spirit or you need experience. And competitive spirit, I don't just mean being able to fight for race wins. I mean that gusto to come back every single time and give it 110%. Experience will do that work for you, but let's take a look at Pascal Stix now attacking. Lucas de Vries has got to the inside out of Parabolica, has judged that one very well as Core Sim Racing's Pascal Stix in that number 34. They started from 7th. It's taken them 16 minutes to get up to the race lead, and on that run into Rettifilio, they might well take it. It's close between them, it's well judged, but Core Sim Racing hit the front.
And how long will it take for SimRC to fight back? They've shown some great spirit in their fights against Core Sim Racing. It's a bit like Solder, isn't it? We see Core go past first, we see SimRC drop back down. Only difference here, there is time, and time is exactly what SimRC need right now. There will be a pit stop, there will be some changing drivers, and our Racefox have gotten ahead, but Alkintec, as always, never behind. Always.
It's for Racefox finally getting through, but Alkintec still not able to get back. If you're Forsdyke though, sure, I know I've said this about a few drivers and teams now, surely you just sit there, surely you just wait, surely you just think, I'm going to hold position, I'm going to use your slipstream, I'm going to let you pull me up to the rest ahead, because Forsdyke's pace may not have started out strong, got a little bit shaky at the start, and to be fair, rightfully so. When you're getting freight trade by the grid, it is really, really hard work, but still, you've just got to stay focused and stay a part of the battle. We'll focus on the left-hand side, the battle for the podium, as we focus in on that. It's German simracing.de by ACV. They started 11th, they're up to 3rd. SimRC 76 started 5th, up to 4th. Kairos Competition Apollo started from 12th position, they're up to 5th. And Maniti Racing White, they're a bit way off this, and they're coming under pressure as well at 34, but still 13th to 6th. We've got some big gainers in this. I know that's because of the drama we've had, but still, quality.
Exactly. This is just turning out to be so good, right? And I love the fact that there's quality everywhere in the field right now. You're seeing some gaps here and there, but their racing experience and the way they're battling it out has been superb. Only a couple of issues here and there, and that I think was just a red mist popping up, but otherwise largely safe, largely clean, and largely good moves like the one Kairos are going to pull off right now. That's a bold send down the inside, and what? 2 in 1. That is outstanding.
Absolutely superb, and we did not see that one in the form book. A proper send to the inside, and somehow Emil Wimbo has been able to grab the podium spot in the BMW. If we're going to see a BMW on the podium this weekend, we were going to say Volante. It's got to be it's got to be one of the Volante cars. And to be fair, right, maybe it should have been, but either way, unfortunately, they are both way down the order and potentially even out of the race. So the pair of them, as there goes Maniti Racing White, drops a couple of positions behind the 78 and of course behind the fiercely forward 53 car as well. But if we get a podium from Kairos Competition, I'm almost speechless that that's even a possibility. They've done such a fantastic job here. Emil Wimbo just trying to hang on at the moment. But once again, there we go, just letting through the SimRC 76. This is potentially a slowdown penalty for Winbo, or it might have just been heads-up driving to not fight SimRC too hard. It is just a slowdown penalty. Never mind, cancel that request. As was on the podium very, very briefly. You cursed the Volante cars. I've cursed the Kairos Competition Apollo car. We're not quite 50-50. You destroyed both of the Volante cars. I'd say we're 66-33.
Yeah, no, I hope more don't really happen. I mean, it's a small grid already. We don't want to see more cars being taken out, not least through us, at least. Not least through a commentator's curse, by the way. So, listen, coming back to Kairos competition, it's a statement. Your first round, you come right here. Yeah, given that this is the best place to begin for a BMW. More on that later, as we see some intense battling for the lead right now. But yeah, this is turning out to be mighty fun for everyone.
De Vries and Sticks once again. De Vries not able to do it, but did leave it around the outside at the Retafilio once again as they head through Curva Grande towards De La Roja. Will look backwards, going to potentially try and get a backwards cam from Pascal Sticks, but Lucas De Vries is there, is looking, is to the inside now as they hit the brakes into De La Roja, and it'll be around the outside for Pascal Sticks. I'm not sure that line looks a little bit too tight, maybe coming across the nose, just about space given, and Pascal Sticks able to hang on for Core Sim Racing and potentially even into Lesmo 1. The lead is going to be held by the white and orange over the black and yellow.
There really must be some crazy suspensions that they've got on the Porsche right there. They just love to hop over and keep up their position. Crazy. Good defending. Pascal Sticks is just right there. And De Vries has to try again. I love it. And they've only got a few minutes left to go, because then their teammates might be coming in soon.
Right, you're absolutely right. We are about to hit the pit window in about 3 minutes and 40 seconds time. So it'll be 2 laps after the time they come across now. Now, realistically speaking, I don't think anyone's going to be able to close in on these two leading the way unless miracles happen, unless they battle very, very hard. I don't see that gap coming down, but this is where that gap behind, they just need to sit with each other. They just don't need to attack. They just need to do what they're doing and just try and close that gap down bit by bit. But you know, egos become a part of it. You think, no, the podium should be mine. I have the better pace.
Yeah.
You fight. Is it worth it? Sometimes you just got to play the long game.
Well, who says you just need some? Who says you just need them fighting too hard for the gap to come down? I mean, we've seen weirder things happen so far. We've seen Volante being taken off by both the cars, which makes me wonder: has Race Control actually put down a ruling on what's happened to Marius Golombek and his 2 incidents? One might wonder they would be looking at that quite intently, but yeah, I think it's just not been their day so far, and that takes a lot on them, right? Because the 77 SimRC car have been so good. If you give them a big penalty, if you put the second car and make them have a bad race like they're having so far, they lose a fair bit of points to the others now.
Yeah, I'm not so sure myself. I don't think anything's come through from Race Control post-race, and to be fair, kind of one of those things that you need to get the opinions of drivers on. You need to figure out, especially with some of the stuff that happened post that incident on the run down into the Parabolica, the lap after between them and the Volante car. Like I say, you need calm heads, you need cool heads, you need to judge it properly. Some things are pretty slam dunk during the race, but other things you just need a couple of opinions post-race.
Yeah, exactly. So they might be having a look later on. It's a bit fair. Just make sure that you can focus on the race and then maybe have a look at things later on. And that is exactly what De Vries is going to do right now. Just focus on this race, focus on this battle. Then I wonder, is it sensible enough for them right now to go for the move before the pit window begins? It'll be an assertion of dominance. Might give them an advantage of a hit here and there, but really, it's more on what you do in terms of your outlap and where you come out, because it's just all on the last 20-odd minutes. Whatever you do, regardless of how close the gap is, it every time just comes down to the last 20 minutes. And that's the amazing part. We know that there's a template to these races, and the template has never disappointed.
No, absolutely not. Now, this is Lucas de Vries's best opportunity to grab one back on Core Sim Racing. Now run down into the red video, and Pascal Stix leading the way. Lucas de Vries trying to respond. De Vries went a little bit too wide towards the latter points of race number 2 in the battle for the race lead, and the race positions are quite close. There's gaps between them, but it is still going to be Pascal Stix hanging on, and de Vries just knocking at the door, waiting for something to happen, and not able to find his way through right now.
Yeah, it's just coming down to him just not being able to open up those gaps with Pascal Stix. And in this case, here comes a racing cliche, right? You've got to make sure that the other driver makes a mistake. You force them into making an error. But when it's someone like Pascal Stix, who's as cool as cool can get in a situation like this, it becomes a hard ask. But then again, time is limited. There will be driver changes coming up, and maybe that could be that situation. It's hard to put that pressure on when you've got 36 minutes in the race, right? But it's even easier to put that pressure when you've only got 10 or 12 minutes. That is when the fun really begins.
Yeah, absolutely. We are about in pit lane window time, so it is ready for our first excursions the way of the pit lane pit speed limit, and ready for them to come in. Who's going to be the first one to bounce? It was SimRC, I believe, in the early stages of the previous race, who jumped down into pit lane on the first time of asking, and you know, like you say, who's going to be the first one to gamble? Christopher Hyman. Oh, that's Kairos way off in the background, and just able to get it back onto the road.
Yeah, that was a bit of an excursion right there by the BMW of Kairos competition. Well, if you can get a good result, why not get a good result in style? Take a quick look at the replay of what happened to Emil Wynn. How did they keep it in? How did they keep it in? Honestly, this is just outstanding.
Wow, no one pitting there. Anyone pitting behind? Yes, it is, and it is Winbo as well. Into the pit lane for Kairos competition. Christopher Hyman. Oh, there's a big dive there from de Vries. That's way too deep. See you, son. And away she goes. That'll be a slowdown penalty if ever I've seen one, and that will throw it straight to the 34 when it comes to the race lead, because it'll be able to pull out a good second and a bit here. Just as the 77 is building up speed once again. That's enormous for Pascal Stix. We'll take a look at it once more. Heavy on the brakes, you can see way too deep. You kind of had that vibe hitting the braking zone.
That's all they need. That is all that Core Sim Racing need in this case right now. It gives them enough of a window, enough of a leeway so that they can go in the pit lane without any worries about it. And that's about it right now. The ball is in SimRC's court. They know they've made the error. They luckily have time. And here is the driver that makes the difference. But how much of a difference you can make right here? When you've seen Core Sim Racing and SimRC often been separated only by half a tenth or something like that here and there, it will need a Herculean effort from SimRC to go out there and get it done. Can happen though.
It's what we expect from these drivers, though, isn't it? We're always sat there expecting some sort of effort that can only be matched by the next effort reaching that sort of level, which sounds, again, a bit silly, but we're expecting perfection on every single occasion.
Not possible all the time. It's really not possible all the time, which makes you baffled, makes you look like the top drivers and wonder, well, how are they so consistent? Consistency is underrated. We often just end up focusing more on the bravado-like drives where somebody's just been a driver like Enzo Ferrari would have done, like Nuvolari, going in and putting in quite the shift and impressing everyone. But it's, as you mentioned early on, Lewis, who can constantly finish in decent results all the time? We thought that was RaceFox who were doing it the best. Now they've just lost that element of this one.
No one else bowing the way of pit lane from this sort of group as well. So it's RaceFox, Alcantech NHR and Kairos who have lost so much time in the pit lane. Look at that.
Yeah.
That is insane. I don't know why they've lost that much time. They just changed all 4 tyres or something, where anyone else is not. I mean, you wouldn't really need tyres at all around here, but I think they still change rears potentially, but for the added traction. But maybe all 4, or maybe too much fuel, inexperience in the series and such. But that's a shame for Kairos competition. They dropped way down.
Yeah, they were just probably one of the most entertaining teams so far in this race right now, and it's a bit of a shame to see them go back down. But hey, if anything, this just gives us the chance to see a good comeback from them. And that would be a lot of fun to see how they can use their raw pace and get all the way up right here. It's been a bit crazy for them so far, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll be able to come back from that kind of drop down the order. You can see RaceFox, Alcatec, NHR and Kairos being the only ones to have been down pit lane. All of the 8 cars ahead ready to do so. A moment's asking. Volante's cars are both out of the race, so don't expect to see the 27 and 57 into pit lane. They're technically already in it, which is a shame for them because they were running so well and we were giving them all the hype and whatnot, and it all unfortunately fell apart. This time by, anyone going to bite, still plenty of time in the pit window. I'm assuming that some of these drivers and teams may well wait, particularly the top 2, until the final moments. At least Pascal Sticks surely has to stay out until the longest point. As I say that, Pascal Sticks is straight into pit lane, and Lucas de Vries will be into the pit, will be staying out, as will Marvin Strell. As Hyman comes into pit lane, fiercely forward stay out. Maniti Racing Green and Maniti Racing White stay out, and it is a fastest lap of the race for Lucas de Vries.
Interesting. So this is them just responding to the pressure. We said it would need a Herculean effort, and that one has just started to come on in. By the way, we're on Kairos competition. It wasn't just a pit stop or anything quite like that. Black flag from an unserved slowdown.
Oh, so they weren't able to serve the full entirety of it.
That's right.
That's rough. That is rough. Really rough.
Yeah.
Easily done though, isn't it? I mean, I don't know how much experience they've got on iRacing personally, but we don't tend to see that, do we, Sommel, with the black flags for not serving. I mean, because it pops up in a big box in the middle of your screen, and it'll count you down, tell you how much time you need to give back, and it'll tell you how long you have to give it back. And,
it's a first.
Yeah, certainly not at this level. You've never received
just
something like that,
right
have you?
at times. Yeah.
You've never been a silly boy on track and gained a penalty by doing that?
No, never. I mean, I was too slow, so in the corners, even though I was driving at full speed, they were like, yeah, you're serving slow on penalty. All cool, man. All chill. That's stuff of being on low elo, right, basically. That's what the thing is. But I'm genuinely bizarre. I'm genuinely stunned by this, about what's happened. But hey, at least they go back and they know that they've got the pace to take it up to the best, even in their first race. Now imagine what more prep time could do for them. It's exciting. Maybe we just have 2 BMWs now with the Volante and them. This is just turning out to be very interesting. We see new challenges pop up all the time.
Yeah, and rightfully so. It's always a very exciting time when we see these new contenders towards the upper echelons of the series and battling for more and more glory. I think the silliest thing that I've ever done is we see the Maniti Racing cars both into pit lane. The silliest thing I've done is I've done the classic driving into pit lane to get your pit stop, getting a drive-through penalty. Then coming in to serve the drive-through penalty, getting a drive-through penalty. I have unfortunately done that, which is really frustrating. I will say that. It is so annoying.
You just feel like shutting down the PC and going.
I just wanted someone to punch me in the face. I won't lie. I'm not going to beat around the bush.
Punching through the wall.
Yeah, I was like, nope, I'm done. It's so frustrating because the thing is that when it's like that, there's only one person to blame. It's you.
Exactly.
You can't go into someone else's team speak and be like, how could you do that to me? You can't start a flame war on Discord. You can't do anything. You just have to sit there and accept. Oh, I'm an idiot. And it's that's not fun. That is certainly not fun. The Team Maniti Racing cars then out of pit lane ahead of RaceFox as well, and the Alcatec NHR car who are quite close behind GSR as well. Still awaiting, of course, the likes of the Sim RCs at the front of the field, fiercely forward, and the Corsim Racing 35 of Marius Gollenbeck to be in pit lane for their stops. They will have to come in this time by. They will not have enough time to do another lap, so we're going to get a real call about where our order is. And for Corsim Racing 34, they'll want to be a decent way ahead of the 77.
Yeah, they have to be a decent way ahead. We saw the 77 make that error. Even with the 77's really fast laps, I think there will be a bit of a gap between both of them right now. there they are in the pit lane, and I don't know, this is going to be a really fun part of the race right now. How fast and how aggressive will we see the 77 be? They need this win more than a 34 right now. This will be a bit of a crazy final stint, to put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not so sure what to expect. I get the vibe. I don't know about you. The 34 is going to come out a decent way ahead of the 77.
Yeah.
And we may not even get that much of a battle. There's a 35. I was thinking that was a 34 coming through. I was thinking, well, that's impossible. No, it was a 35 of Marius Gollenbeck around the final corner and into the pit lane. Here comes the 34 then, presently being driven, of course, by the one and only Oscar Mangan, who was very good in the early stages. Did not qualify very well, though, must be said. The Irishman onto the start-finish straight, departing pit lane SimRC, and look at the lead that Oscar Mangan is about to have. Goodbye, see ya, son. And the 34 is going to be clearing off. The 77's not hugely behind, but now with a 76, Jamie Moon behind the wheel, pole position, will now need to channel that pace and close it down. 2.4 seconds. Fantastic for Corsa Racing.
Well, we've seen bigger things happen so far. It'll take quite something, and it's all about right now Cole not being complacent. The moment that complacency comes in, the moment you see someone near that 1.5 second gap, the draft starts to come in, and before you know it, 1.5 becomes 1 second, 7 tenths, 6 tenths, 5.4. There you have it. There they are for the lead. And right now there's this fun battle going on between German Sim Racing and Fiercely Forward. And by the way, Lewis, German Sim Racing, by not qualifying in the upper half of the race, they've actually quietly been able to make it up into the top 4. We generally haven't spoken about them much since the race has begun, but all the chaos has ensued in front of them, not with them, for that matter.
Kind of one of those ones we were wondering with them, like, if you have a worse qualified, maybe you have a better race.
Exactly.
It's exactly what we've seen from German Sim Racing, especially when they don't have their teammate on the grid as well, so they don't have anyone to battle with. They had a few bits of contact with their teammates. We've seen a lot of team-on-team contact. To be fair, actually, we did see another bit of that today as well. These were sort of Volantes hit each other, but
yeah,
let's be honest, wasn't their fault.
A bit of an accident, yeah.
Wasn't their fault. But yeah, for GSR, like I say, they're just having a better race. They've got a bit of a fight to try and get a podium. They've got to get to the 76 and pass the 76, and they'll have to fight off the Fiercely Forward car that is also sat there eyeing them up, and potentially will be going for a bit of a move.
Yeah, they really will be. Fiercely Forward are never backing down from a fight in this situation. So what if they've only got one car here this weekend? They will be in with a proper fight. I love this about this Fiercely Forward machine. The 53 is always there, always in a fight, always picking a scrap with somebody, and that's what you like to see. Again, going back to our argument of having fun, they're certainly ones doing quite fair with that. Look at this, a Porsche actually getting a McLaren on the exit. This is interesting now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an oddity, but I think the Fiercely Forward should be close enough to potentially look for a dive. Whether it will go for one, though, Isaac Jean behind the wheel at the moment. Lesser Molman at the moment. There is the dive. There is nearly a brush, but Lesser Molman did turn out of it. Now there's near contact again on the exit of Delaroche, looking to the inside on that run through at Lesmo 1. The McLaren not backing out once again. It's as close as you can. You couldn't really get a bit of paper between the two of them. It was that tight, and once again a bit more side by side. Isaac Jean. Oh, is that a disconnection? No, straight back into it. We are okay, and Fiercely Forward hearts were in their mouths for a brief second. And they're back into 4th spot.
Nicely done right there. Nice and sweet. Got a bit crazy, but again, they're able to control it quite well. And now I wonder, can these two work together and maybe get closer to the SimRC number 76 car? Now, on raw pace, in terms of all the results, 76 has been way better. They've been miles up ahead, but there's a realistic chance when you're working together in tandem, maybe you could use the draft, maybe you can get faster and closer to the SimRC, which does not have a drafting buddy at all.
I'm not sure they'll be able to close it down, though. That's the kind of thing, is it's already built up to being quite a large gap, nearly 3 seconds that Jürgen Frank has been able to pull out on the fiercely forward. Of course, we see those ebbs and flows constantly, but for Jürgen Frank, I just get the vibe that this is enough to keep it at bay. Didn't close down at all on Jamie Moon, by the way, his teammate Jürgen Frank, so that gap's hovering around the 4-second mark, and GSR will be sat behind. Lap time differential, it was a 58.5 from Jürgen Frank, fiercely forward, 59.7 as RaceFox have got by Maniti Racing White down into the Red affiliate.
Well, that's quite nice for RaceFox, finally getting something done here and there. Once again, German Sim Racing trying, going towards the inside line. This could actually work out well for them, They could actually get the jump on the fiercely forward Porsche, and so they try, and they make it work.
Oh, bit of contact there from Lesser Moment, cutting across the nose, and that's why the lights are flashing on the fiercely forward car of Isaac Jean, and clearly not too happy with the German Sim Racing got the driver's move. It was aggressive, it was elbows out, it was maybe a little bit on the cusp, but it's hard racing at Monza. They've got to be careful though, because that train's chasing them. The Maniti Racing cars, both of them in the mix, RaceFox as well, and the Alpine NHR car.
Yeah, exactly. It could all just unravel so quickly. Instead of slight lapse of concentration, and you could see positions dropping down as everybody closes up right to you. Tell you what's not happening though. Tell you where the gap is not going down though. It is at the lead. The number 77 is just not able to claw past. It's amazing how Co have been able to settle this race with 30-odd minutes left to go. They just had the gap, and that is all that they need to do. But it could still do that, and it seems a bit unlikely now though.
Yeah, but I've seen weirder things happen. I think we all have. So there's no ruling anything out right now. Although I will say it is very much in the hands of Core Sim Racing this race at present. So realistically speaking, it would be a tall order for anyone to try and close that gap down. Same as the 4-second gap that separates the two Sim RC cars in third and fourth, and the 3-second gap from GSR to the Sim RC cars up ahead, but fiercely forward on the rear end of GSR for 4th and 5th. And then of course we have that train behind Maniti Racing Green, Team RaceFox, Alcatech NHR and Maniti Racing White. Core Sim Racing 2 of course having a mare of things so far this race, and Marius Golombek dropping the team right down the order into 10th. The Kairos competition, well, they were right a part of it, but a very, very slow pit stop, and of course, not very slow pit stop, but a slow-ish pit stop was all right, I think. But then, of course, ignoring the slowdown penalty and having to serve a penalty to boot. Oh, Maniti Racing Green, that's the 78, slowing down. RaceFox are through and into 6th.
Yeah, finally RaceFox are able to get something done for themselves. It's been a bit of a torrid day so far for them, but these small victories, these minor wins here and there, are what can inspire your confidence, and this is what they need, right? After having 2 tumultuous races, just having fun, gaining a few positions here and there, hang on.
Well, let's see what's going to happen. GSR are able to hang on from fiercely forward ahead. Maniti Racing Green, after that slowdown penalty, takes a lot of curb there at Ascari, which is a bit of a shame there for the 78. It's just delayed some of that launch onto the back straight down into the Parabolica, and there's going to be no move from the Porsche 78 at present. Again, breaking the slipstream as an attempt at the moment, the number 31. Again, solid effort from Lucas Gabler. Qualified up in second spot. We know that Gabler's fast, not been able to do anything about this race so far, but now behind the wheel, taking control, maybe eyeing up a top 4 finish, which GSR are presently holding, but of course they are fighting hard themselves with fiercely forward and closing quite a rate of knots. A 58.5 on the previous lap plays higher 58s from these two, as fiercely forward are going to gain that position on GSR, so they've got themselves up in the 4th spot. But every time they change, every time they battle, and the RaceFox car behind closes in bit by bit.
Well, I know that foxes like to hunt in a pack, but this particular fox, well, they won't mind going at it all on their own. Oh, that's risky drawing by the fiercely forward right there. In an attempt to block off one line, they've opened up the other one, but it's a smart thing to do, because they've opened up the outside line. And just ask Lewis Hamilton, how hard is it to pass around the outside right there?
To be honest, passing around the outside is always pretty risky. It's always hard. And again, one of my friends always gave me the advice was that don't make it look pretty, just send it down the inside. And it is true. That's not the if car gap. It's none of that business. But it's an interesting point that a lot of the time drivers do like to make a move, whether it's conscious or not. You always try and make a move that looks pretty because you know it looks good on broadcast. You want to go around the outside into Ascari. You want to pull it all the way around the outside of Parabolica. You want to make an audacious dive at some point. You want the fantastical moves that get us up on our feet. But realistically speaking, those aren't efficient. They're not efficient moves. They're not great for speed. They're not great for actually working your way up the order and getting into the next position and getting into the next one and then to the next one. They just look cool on broadcast, which, power too. I'm all for them. By the way, I don't know about you, but I think SimRC are closing in a little bit on cool at the front.
Yeah, they are. They're actually closed on around 8/10 of a second or something like that. Yeah, they've actually gone a little bit closer right there. Yeah, but it's just not efficient enough, as rightly mentioned. You can also make a hack of it very easily. German sim racing aren't making a hash of it though. They constantly just. I think they're stuck in a loop. German sim racing go to the outside. They always end up making a move at turn number 1. Fiercely forward, say, right, we're a Porsche, we can get a better exit. They end up going to the outside line as well, cut back into the inside, and eventually they're the one who get the position. Is that what's going to happen again this time out?
Well, it can't happen for infinity because we've only got 14 minutes and 44 seconds left of this race. So there's only so many more times they can do it. But GSR to the inside at Della Roger, coming back across the into the side potentially of Isaac Jean, who's going to go all the way around the outside. That could be on the cusp of a slowdown penalty, but it doesn't really matter anyway because the McLaren's already got through. And look who's knocking on the door. Team RaceFox are right here. Gabler. And as we ride on board with the RaceFox driver, there is going to be a 4th place potentially up for grabs for one of our championship contenders.
So Team RaceFox, how awesome would it be if they can get these 2 positions into one shot? The championship hopes are still alive, by the way. They're not fully knocked down and they need a big result. This one would be damage limitation, and if they get these 2 results, they would genuinely go into the next round of the Red Bull Ring with a great degree of confidence that they were able to maximize whatever came to them. Foxes usually hunted packs. This Fox right now is in a pack, but on their own, no ally here and there. This will be a fun fight.
Yeah, no, as much as there's plenty of Porsche around for assistance and a couple of McLarens on either side of it, like you say, a solo effort for Team RaceFox, and the potential for more, the potential for greatness, the potential for a 4th place finish on the cards at the moment for that beautiful red, white and green yellow highlighted Porsche Cayman. But at the moment, the head of that is controlled by GermanSimRacing.de by ACV, and at present we've seen time and time again some side-by-side between them down into the Rettifilio, and this is just the exception actually, as we'll see some behind Maniti Racing Green and Alcatec NHR. Forsdyke has survived. Well, we'll give him credit that he's been able to keep it on the track, on the go, able to hand over to Matthew Crisp, who qualified this car in 3rd, and Crisp is now in prime position as well to be a part of this battle, to potentially even be the highest McLaren on the grid.
And that will be awesome, won't it? Alcatec NHR, this is just going to be a culmination of a lot of effort being put in for them, but not able to just manifest a good result here and there. If they can sneak in and get something off this big battle that's going on between RaceFox, Fiercely Forward and German Sim Racing, bingo, that's just what they need right now. And it would inspire so much confidence. I know I'm constantly speaking about confidence heading into the next round of the Red Bull Ring, but that's what you need. When you've got 3 races on the trot, when you've got a triple header, you need all of this, everything you can get to make sure that you have a good run ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need to be... I mean, confidence is a currency in motorsport and sim racing. It's bought and it's spent. It's bought through racing hard and through coming out on top and working hard. It's spent by using it in races like this, by controlling yourself and by taking control of the entire race and grabbing it by the scruff of the neck and gaining a good result, by pushing the car to its limit, by wrestling it through every corner, by holding off contenders competitors for the latter rounds of a championship. It's all part of the game that they're playing, all part of the musical chairs that we play in sim racing. And GSR at the moment in a good spot, but fiercely forward, and RaceSpots are there as well. We'll have to ride on board with Gabler, but don't rule out Matthew Crisp is a little bit further off the back of this. That might be a part of it. Door open then for Gabler to come through at least on the 53, or potentially even a switchback to come through on GSR. They're way too deep, and say hello to both of them as there's contact though. And look at Matthew Crisp. 1, 2, 3 potentially on the run through Curva Grande. Could this be it for Alcantech NHR to grab 4th position through all of the carnage there? We've got side by side between RaceSpots and GSR. We've got side by side between Alcantech NHR and fiercely forward, and it is going to be 3 positions picked up by Matthew Crisp, who's now going to be spun out, and there's contact as well. Well, that wasn't what we wanted to see.
And before you know it, the German sim racing car is back at the head of the pack. This is just turning out to be utter madness. But Crispy, that was some move by him, just making sure that everything worked out on his plan. And all of a sudden, before you know it, all the momentum is lost again. 10 minutes to go, Lewis. The gap is still right there. It's not that bad, you know. The only thing is, he's got to do it all over again. That's frustrating.
Yeah, that is frustrating. The thing is, you've got to say it between them, between RaceSpots as well, the contact at turn 1, which we're going to see. Let's ride on board with Matthew Crisp through all of this, and what a view this will be. So you've got fiercely forward and GSR running a little bit deep. RaceSpots giving room, but getting a little bit of contact from GSR, and Matthew Crisp thinks, thank you very much. Goodbye. And through the middle of all of it, and then the side-by-side, a little bit of a flash of the lights, naturally so, but the person who want to be flashing his lights to can't see that, not for love nor money, because side-by-side with you, and lights don't work like that, son. But either way, this is where Matthew Crisp was sent. Like I say, it was fantastic here, but then, for me, that's just not okay. That is not okay for... The fiercely forward car should just backed out at that point. You've got to that point, and Isaac Sheen just sort of left it there, and half-heartedly, again, a half-hearted move, and but half spun out Matthew Crisp. It is what it is, but look who's just grabbed 4th spot. Maniti Racing Green, once behind the wheel. Fantastic.
I mean, this is just turning out to be so much fun for Maniti Racing. All the time we saw them struggling, all the time we saw them at the back. This is the race where you can see wildcards, and it's genuine improvement from Maniti. It'll take a big defensive move right there to keep that position, though, as German Sim Racing have gone up right there and have got it for themselves, and luckily no contact. Look at this, though. Crispy's attacking for Alcantech NHR down the inside of the fiercely forward car.
Again, it could still be a fantastic drive for Alcantech NHR as they are still a part of this battle. 4th spot. The race lead is coming down, by the way, if you wanted any more to get excited in this race. 77 closing in on the 34. We could see fireworks in the front here at Monza. I think it'll be 4 laps to go at the end of this one. Certainly will be. So plenty more battling to have around the Italian countryside. It is absolutely fantastic here at Monza. It's GSR leading Maniti as a part of this trade, but Alcantech NHR, and look who's closing in as well. I don't know if you caught that at the back of shot, but Maniti Racing White are knocking at the door as well.
I mean, what's next? Everyone seems to be a part of this queue. It just seems to be like this is an open opportunity. Wherever you are, regardless of how good or how bad of a season you've had so far, come right in and try and make sure that 4th place is yours. Oh, German Sim Racing, if you can hold this one off, it'll be amazing. What if Maniti can get it done?
Sorry, Oscar Mangan's just missed the first chicane. Oscar Mangan has just missed the first chicane, and now he might have a switch for the race lead as well. We'll go side by side so you can see that one happen. And Oscar Mangan, a costly mistake, and Jamie Moon is going to take the lead in the 77 in the final 4 laps of the race. So we are seeing drama. We are seeing drama of high accord as well. Maniti leading this battle with GSR now, Alcantech behind, and NHR potentially going to grab that position on GSR. It's tight as well, but Maniti Racing Green ahead of all of this, trying to pull away. The 2 McLarens fighting out over 5th.
Maniti Racing, for them, it's just like run right now. This is just run, Forrest, run. That's the case for them. Running away from this major battle is what they need to do, as we see everyone hop along. Look at the commitment at the corners, but seriously, the unthinkable has happened. We have seen Oscar Mangan make such a major error in such a serious circumstance. And we thought that 2.5-second gap would never go down. Amazing. Amazing. And now the frame of mind. This is just exactly what they need right now. Can Mangan reset and attack in this major situation?
You said it yourself earlier when Mangan had that lead, 2.5 seconds. Complacency is the only thing that will defeat you, and that is exactly what seems to have happened there. But Mangan's just come back through, by the way. Parabolica, we'll see them go side by side, and Oscar Mangan doesn't care about that one bit. He's already fighting for the race lead and for Sim Racing. They haven't even, technically, lost the lead for a lap there, and Oscar Mangan will be able to hold that one on, and we'll see what they're going to be across the line. 0.047 of a second. Jamie Moon and Oscar Mangan once again side by side. There's absolutely nothing between them as they hit the braking zone for the Rettifilio for the third to last time. Oscar Mangan all over the place. Oscar Mangan going to be able to grab the position. It'll be the drive off the corner that should work in favour of Sim Racing, and certainly is so.
Man, this is just some outstanding confidence from Oscar Mangan. He makes an error and he bounces back within a lap. How good is Oscar Mangan? Yes, he made that error right there, but just to come back in within a lap? If he can defend this position right now from Jamie Moon, who's on fire, it'll be just a culmination of a superb comeback in a lap. Tremendous.
But again, has to hold on, and you know what slipstream's like around here. I think we're just in for an intense tussle for the next 3 laps here at Monza to wrap up action here for the third to last round of the season as well. We're back in a week's time when we hit the lovely Red Bull ring. Oh, there's contact, and Alcantech and HR across. We'll have to take a look at that one again. GSR coming together with Alcantech and HR and fiercely forward as well. A part of that, you're right, Maniti Racing. They have run. They have gone to the forest. They have run, Forest run. They've gone. Bye. See you, mate. No halting in their boots as they've just absolutely cleared away from Lesser Molman in the and also GSR's been dropped back behind fiercely forward. Let's take a look at what happened. Hard to tell.
Yeah, it's just not turning out well. It could have been B number 4. It's now B number 9 for Alcantech. SimRC go to the outside line. This could be their chance. They're lining it up for the long run. They know they might be the ones losing out in the first chicane, but that's exactly what they need. A good run off it and one into the second one. That could get them the lead right here.
This is it, about being outplayed, about playing the right cards, and we've seen SimRC be outplayed already. Of course, different drivers at that point in the in race 1. Now we're seeing Jamie Moon against Oscar Mangan, and who's going to play the right cards? Is SimRC leading them down into Rettifilio, penultimate time of the race, and this is looking a little bit better for that yellow and black Porsche. Just tries to come across the nose of Sim Racing. They're as close as you can side by side. Oscar Mangan with the better drive and the shorter run through Curva Grande will retake the lead here in the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge at Monza, race number 2. But now we've run through there, it's the speed advantage for Jamie Moon after Curva Grande into Della Roger. A little bit too deep on the brakes for Oscar Mangan, and on the departure of that corner, the Irishman going to lose out to Jamie Moon.
Okay, this is interesting right now. So Jamie Moon has actually got that position done in, and I'd say it's a very smart move because it puts the ball back into the court of Oscar Mangan. How much of a pressure situation is it that you know the time is running out and you've got to make a big move on a big driver right here? Contact in this picture though. This battle is just spilling out of hand, Lewis. This is just turning out to be a bit messy now.
Race 1 was absolutely perfect. Race 2's been a little bit too messy for my liking, but it's been exciting, it's been enthralling. Alcantech and HR behind fiercely forward now as they drop back. And ET Racing White are ahead. Sebastian Volker are ahead of Marvin Lessemolman and the German simracing.de contingent. White flag will be out when they cross the line this time. It's the 77 of Jamie Moon leading the way. Oscar Mangan directly behind for Sim Racing, and finally the 77 is going to complete a lap in the lead of the race. They started it from pole position. They led a little bit in the early portion, but then issues galore, and Core Sim Racing back a part of it, and managed to close in, managed to take the lead, managed to run away in the pit lane sequence, and a couple of mistakes from Oscar Mangan. It all comes down to this though, and it is Jamie Moon leading, but look at the speed of the Core Sim Racing. They're darting, they're ducking, they're weaving, trying to figure their position out, running into the Rettifilio. Oscar Mangan's just desperate for a good drive, and that is a good drive. He's just about got there. He'll have to hold a tight line. That was fantastic. It just wasn't covered off by Jamie Moon, and I think Oscar Mangan is clear and back into the lead.
Wow, that was an opportunity made. He forced Jamie Moon into creating that space, and he's got the preferred line. They're coming up to blows right here, the second chicane, and yes, Core have got it done. The opportunities aren't over though. Jamie Moon is going to try everywhere, outside, inside. Give him a chance, he will take it.
Oh, they're going to remain side by side. Lesmo 1 ticked off. Oscar Mangan inside for Lesmo 2 as well. Yet Jamie Moon trying to figure it out, trying to figure a way through in the 77. Has done so a few times. Another fantastic battle on the final lap here of Monza. We'll keep our eyes focused on this battle for the race lead. We know there's plenty of battling happening elsewhere in that battle for 6th place. Jamie Moon trying to figure a way past Oscar Mangan. Mangan on the left-hand side of shot, right-hand side of track, running it through Ascari, and this is going to be full send from absolutely both of them. It's good from Jamie Moon though, so Oscar Mangan is going to have to sit on this tight, on this unpreferred line into Parabolica, trying to keep Jamie Moon at bay. Moon trying to pull the Core Sim Racing car off of the white line to maybe sneak one down the inside. No way through there into Parabolica for the final time. Sends it on the brakes. Sim RC potentially going to try and take the victory here, but I think it might be that for Core Sim Racing. They started in 7th position, remember, and the 34 has risen up the ranks, and they will just about take race victory here at Monza in race number 2. Core Sim Racing take both of them. Sim RC 2nd, Sim RC 3rd, 77 ahead of the 76. Maniti Racing green, congrats to them for 4th, and look at how close this is going to be between Alcantech NHR and between Fiercely Forward. Maniti Racing white though, best race of the season, up to P7. GSR having a better one. Team Racefox inside the top 5. GSR in 6th. But what a race once again. And it is the 34 Pascal Sticks, Oscar Mangan, back to back.
Well, that's some way to bring a prediction to life, Lewis.
Thank you.
Really
I'd take all the credit for that win.
Oh my word. This was just stories in stories in stories, wrapped up with more stories in this second race. Yes, so what? At some point it felt more like a demolition derby than a sports car open race, but still, look at the narratives. Core establishing an even bigger lead, even from adversity. Sim RC just getting close but missing out twice. Maniti Racing getting a superb result, finally one that could break the jinx for them, and it shows a genuine comeback. German Sim Racing in the top 5. And even the likes of Alcantech, there's just a genuine feeling that Alcantech could go out there and take P4. It's just opening up the doors, Lewis. It's really opening up the doors. In the next 4 races that we're going to see right here, I'm genuinely intrigued to see what more we can see, because here, I think we've seen a lot. We've seen, I think, more variety than any other race weekend so far, believe it or not.
And you have to ask the question, how many other teams will be disappointed not to finish 4th? Because so many teams were close on so many different occasions. We'll take a look then, and for the second consecutive race, it is Oscar Mangan, Pascal Sticks, victors here in the Virtual Racing School Sports Car Open Sprint Challenge. Jamie Moon grabbing 2nd position this time. Again, it was the 77 that was 2nd position in the previous race as well. Sim RC's Jürgen Frank in the 76 able to grab 3rd spot. Looked like a bit of a boring race for them after the first portion as they just drove around. Maniti Racing green, I alluded to them, fantastic result for them in 4th spot, and Team Racefox recovering from earlier issues. They started from 2nd, got sent off down the road and managed to recover a 5th spot. Marvin Lesser-Molman for GSR by ACV into P6, a decent recovery from them after pole position in race number 1. Disaster in that, but they managed to recover to a top 6 in race 2. Maniti Racing White, best result of the season, 7th place. Massive congratulations to them, finally figuring out that BMW bit by bit with Fiercely Forward in 8th spot. Matthew Crisp, Alcantech NHR, started from 3rd, dropped down the order. Forsdyke, though, just kept it within reach and was able to hang on inside the top 10. And Matthew Crisp got there, was in 4th, rightfully so, but then issues galore, and they were sent down to 9th spot. Thomas Gibson and Marius Gollenbeck. Well, I think that is a team that might have a few questions dropped at their front door. Final teams, Kairos competition, what could have been for them without the ignoring of the slowdown penalty, and the 2 Aztec Simsport Volante cars in 12th and 13th. Unfortunately, retirement from the race after that incident with Marius Gollenbeck. We are going to grab an interview straight away because I think, let's be honest, we want to hear what this team have to say. What a sensational round for them. 2 race victories. We're going to go to Oscar Mangan first, obviously fresh out of the car. And we've kind of got these questions to label at both of you because it looks like intense pressure there from the number 77. How do you keep focused, Oscar, when you've got that much on your shoulders?
Yeah, we kind of knew before the pit stop, or after the pit stop, that they had made a mistake when they were running on their own. So we thought we had a bit of a gap, but Jamie's pace was pretty insane. Like, I was pushing very hard, and he was still like probably a 10th or 2 faster each lap, and I didn't really have an answer for that. So it was more about kind of just like minimizing the delta every single lap just to the end, and then I made a mistake with like 4 or 5 laps to go. But I knew if I could keep up with him that I could still make a move. It's very, very hard to pull away here. It's pretty much impossible. Even if you've like a 3 or 4 10th pace deficit, it's pretty much done. Like, you can't get away. So it was more about then just kind of trying to find a way to pass, I guess. I had Pascal helping me out with like split times and keeping an eye on his pace and stuff like that. But yeah, really, really happy to get that win at the end, and really fun battle to top it off.
Keeping with you, Oscar, post pit stop you had a decent gap. I think it was 2 and a bit seconds. We did catch the point, at least, you know, I did spotted the bit where you made a bit of a mistake down into the Retifilio. Was that just the pressure of them catching, or was that a little bit of complacency maybe? What kind of happened there?
Yeah, I think it was kind of probably a bit of pushing too hard. This car, the ABS system is not very good. So the second I hit the brake pedal, I knew instantly I'm not making the corner. So I just kind of tried to minimize the impact of it. But this thing, it's not like you're just at the apex and you snatch a wheel. Like, as soon as you hit the brake pedal, you'll know pretty much instantly whether you're making the corner or not. So I was a bit more prepared than, let's say, other cars. But yeah, probably just a lapse in concentration and just the pressure from behind. But yeah.
Fantastic stuff anyway from the pair of you. We'll head to Pascal now. Obviously, you know, to grab your opinions again with that high pressure environment, you had to deal with battling with Lucas de Vries in race 1. How was that for you? How was the pressure around Monza rather, and dealing with the fact, like Oscar said, you just can't pull away from everyone. You have to be very, very tactical in the battles.
Yeah, race 1 was pretty much the exact opposite, with simracing in front of us, and my plan was to just stay behind him until the last few laps, so we could create the gap to the cars behind, which worked perfectly. Then we could fight it out the last 4 or 5 laps, and yeah, it's just about making the move at the right time and then making sure that they can't make a move back.
Now, you know, we've got to kind of talk about, you know, championship aspirations and stuff. You came into this as the championship leaders, of course, now with 2 race victories on the bounce. It's looking pretty strong for you in the championship. Going to Red Bull Ring, going to the Nürburgring Sprint Strecker. You're in a fairly comfortable position. How are you going to go into those next 2 rounds and not get complacent?
I don't think we can change anything with our way we prepare, work on the setups, and really, yeah, practice also the fighting, the driving in the draft. It's going to be similar to here at Monza, the same at Red Bull Ring, with a lot of drafting and long trains. Yeah, it's super intense, and you just have to practice that to make the right moves at the right time.
Well, enormous congratulations to the pair of you, 2 sensational races, and thank you for putting on an excellent show.
Cheers, guys.
Wow, Somil, great to hear the insights and great to understand the pressure that's dealt with in those intense battles. It's a level of intensity that we, as much as we feel in the commentary booth, just understanding it from a driver's perspective is always a bit insightful.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think what they might be thinking when they're in that crazy battle, right? And for so many, they just don't think about it. They just drive by their instincts, and in this case, whatever it was, Co made it work to perfection right here. 2 wins in a row, and that is what it is. As you rightly mentioned, it's not just outsmarted, it's just, I don't know, there's a slight gap, right? Where you see these sort of things happen. They just executed things, the small things, a little bit better, even after their major error at the chicane. Now, we can't just say, well, what if that error hadn't happened? Well, it has happened, right? We saw what happened, but still, to come back and not to lose your focus even after that one and still to take the win, quite something.
Well, that about sets us up here at Monza. A fantastic race it was, but still there is 4 races left in the season. Remember as well that you can get yourselves involved in a giveaway by heading to giveaway.sportscaropen.com to get yourselves involved in the potential of one of the Lego Technic Porsche 911 RSRs, which by the way is fantastic. Also by getting yourselves in for the DFP wheelbase as well. We'll be back here in the virtual racing school Sports Car Open on the 20th when we head to the Red Bull Ring and to the fantastic racing that we'll have there. But of course, we are back tomorrow as well for the Sprint Masters GT3 racing around Monza as well. All the big names will be out in force. We'll hope you join us there. It'll be 1:30 UTC. I've been Lewis McGlade, Somil Aurora, alongside, of course, all the cameras and such coming from Hugo Luis in fantastic fashion. And thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, though. Bye-bye.